Auto racing is brought to you by Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's car.
You're looking at the fastest sports cars in the world, competing in one of the longest racing seasons in the United States, starting with the 24 hours of Daytona on the high banks, the streets of Miami, the airport runways of Sebring. They run all the famous race courses on a demanding 16-race schedule: Riverside, Mid-Ohio, Laguna Seca, Watkins Glen. There were delicious moments of joyous victory shared by the whole racing team. There were other moments, too. The ones where the results were not so satisfying, and the wrenches came out of the toolbox. Today, the season-long odyssey of 1987 comes to a close as the team's season finale. Miles north of San Diego, California, the Pacific Ocean, just yards from the edge of the racetrack. This is the first ever Camel Grand Prix of Southern California from Del Mar, California. Hello, everyone. I'm Bruce Flanders, along with 11-time IMSA winner, Mr. David Hobbs. And David, this brand new racetrack and fast cars ought to be interesting.
Well, it certainly will. It's 1.6 miles around. There's 10 official corners, but it looks more like 15 to me on the map. We've got about 3 seconds covering 12 of these big GTP cars. They give more horsepower than their cousins in Europe. And it's going to be one heck of a race. I'm sure that Chip Robinson is going to want to win this race. He sort of fell into the championship a bit with his winning the championship at Columbus. There's one mandatory pit stop. It's only a 2-hour race, so fuel is no problem. So they'll be running a little bit more boost than usual, and I think we're going to see some really...
Along with the racing, there'll be action in the pits, as David alluded to, and down in the pit lane to cover it all, one of the most knowledgeable racers to ever sit behind the wheel in IMSA, Miss Lyn St. James.
I'm here on the grid standing next to the Camel GT Championship race car. There's going to be a lot of pit action today because every car is going to have to make a pit stop, and some are actually going to make driver changes. There's a lot of money on the line in this race, including the Camel Pyramid money, $85,000 to win. And it's going to be an exciting race. I can guarantee you that, but not because of money. It's an exciting race yesterday, and I know. We've got a lot of drivers here ready to win, so let's go racing.
The fastest sports cars in the world are already qualified and sitting on the grid, ready. We'll be back for the racing right after this.
Motor oil, take the heat. When today's engines reach high running temperatures, motor oil can thin out, break down, and leave engine surfaces unprotected. But Castrol XLR has been engineered to maintain a lubricating film, even at extreme engine temperatures. At Castrol, we believe if you can't take the heat, get out of the engine. Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's cars. Look for Castrol XLR at these leading retailers.
32 of the world's golfing nations will meet here at the Kapalua Bay course in Hawaii in hopes of winning the World Cup of Golf. And Canada's team will be there defending the cup they won in 1985. Dave Barr and Jerry Anderson are representing Canada. They'll meet tough challengers like Ben Crenshaw, Roger Davis, Sandy Lyle, and the colorful Payne Stewart. Join us for 3 sun-filled days of live championship golf. The World Cup of Golf, November 19th to the 21st, here on TSN.
Inaugural Camel Grand Prix of Del Mar with a crowd of some 30,000 strong in the grandstands, and that is the U.S. Navy Leapfrog skydiving team coming into the facility. And David, that's about the only way you can get into an IMSA race pit area without the proper credential. the last of the Navy skydivers now making their way onto the ground successfully, and we congratulate them. Boy, they had the crowd in the palm of their hand for a while. The two Nissan pace cars are moving away now from the starting area and taking the field with them on 2 warm-up laps of this racetrack. One of the largest fields that IMSA has ever assembled, and it's amazing at this point in the season, the last race of the year, there's usually some very bent race cars. I'm Bruce Flanders along with David Hobbs, and we're about ready now to give you the lineup in this field. On the front row, number 14, the car he's driving, Chip Robinson in the Porsche 962. He has already tied up the individual championship. Alongside of him, a gentleman who's still got a chance at the Porsche Cup, driving number 16, Price Cobb in the Dyson Porsche.
And immediately behind Price Cobb is Jeff Brabham in the Nissan, an electrifying car. He set the time, but he's driving with Elliot Forbes Robinson. Elliot Forbes Robinson won the Miami race earlier this year, but Jeff is winless. Alongside them is Bobby Rahal, a 3-time winner in the Bruce Levin 962 this year, and twice second with Jochen Mass as well.
In row 3, sharing row 3, Jochen Mass in the number 85 car, who has driven with Bobby Rahal in that Bayside disposal car, another Bruce Levin Porsche 962. Then the first Corvette. In row number 3, number 22, the South African, Cyril Vandemira in the Corvette GTP, a very wickedly fast race car. It's warm-up time now, David, and they've got to build some heat in the motors. We take a look at all the rest of the cars, and again, a stellar lineup of competitors.
Well, there's Derek Bell's car. Of course, he's a 2-time world champion in Europe and the world. Back on 8th place on this grid, John Morton and Hurley Hayward in the last appearance of that Jaguar XJR7 from Bob Tullis' stable. James Weaver's driving on his own. Bob Aiken won't be joining him. Segala and Larori, a rare appearance in their car from Germany for this race, but jolly good for the crowd here.
Row 7 is the first Camel Light car, the little L going by, Don Bell and Jeff Klein. Now, the Camel Lights are a different race within the race, right?
Well, they have a smaller engine, they have less fuel, and of course they have a lot less weight, so they're generally a little bit slower, but the pole-sitting car in the Camel Lights was only 4 seconds off the pole for the race, so they're very competitive around this tight track.
Awfully quick, and a lot of cars, and this is going to be an interesting go. Remember now, there are 2 pace laps, so they're on the first of the warm-up laps, and you've got to get the tires up to temperature, right?
Well, this is a new track, too, so it has no real line to it as yet, only what they put down in these few days of practice. So these guys have really got to get some temperature in the tires. The ambient today is not very high, so they need to try a little bit harder, so they've given them 2 pace laps instead of the usual 1. And talking about 1, there we see a race car going through turn 1, a tight second gear right-hand bend, up to 3rd, short shift to 3rd, flick through that left-hander there, hard application of the brakes for the real hairpin, down to 2nd again. Accelerating out of the hairpin, as you can see, the road sort of wanders here, a very fast sweep to the left, then a little flick to the right, and then another flick to the left, and a fairly fast straight there as we come down to turn 5. Turn 5 is a left-right complex. Turn 6 is another right-hand complex and a little left-hand exit on the way, going through there in 3rd, and a long, fast straight here, one of the fastest parts of the course, as they come up to that long, sweeping turn 7. 7 itself tightens up right at the end, another short stab on the gas pedal. Turn 8, another sharp left-hander there. You see them going through turn 8 and 9. Second gear all this. Stay in 2nd as they go through this. Some cars will even be using 1st gear there. A very tortuous bit, not going to be much passing there. And there you see them on the main straight up to 5th gear, down into turn 1 again.
Back behind the pace car as those warm-up laps nearly completed now. In fact, one of the 2 pace cars is out of the way. Let's go inside the Nissan GTP car.
There we see Jeff Brabham on the pace lap here, checking all his gauges. As he swings through that turn there, listening for noises. See that little warning light there? I guess that's the alternator light, but of course on these cars he's run off the transmission, so I don't think he'll be worrying too much about that.
Starting to form them up a little tighter now as they come by the, again, quite full grandstands. A great turnout of people.
There we see on Jeff's left, we can just see Bobby Rahal putting his nose in front as they come up to the last turn. As they approach the main straight, there we see the oil smoke coming out of the turbo of the pole-sitting car of Chip Robinson. Chip Robinson's ready for the off. That's quite a front.
All right, as tight as they can get, coming by. Underneath that Camel Bridge is your start-finish line, and the green flag is waving, and this 2-hour race is underway. And David, they're trying to swap paint jobs.
Boy, they are swapping paint jobs on the first lap, and there it looks like Jeff Brabham ran to the back of Chip Robinson as well. And the guy that came out worse of that was definitely Price Cobb.
Yeah, but the guy who came out well was Bobby Rahal. He's in the 2nd place spot, and they're still trying to net bang on each other's car doors right there. A traffic jam, big time, as they get it sorted out.
Typical traffic jam like you see on the freeway. The further you get back down the line, the earlier you've got to stop, and the yellow flag's out.
Yellow flag is out, and that is Cyril Vandermeer in the Corvette, and he has obviously tried to move one of the concrete barriers with the front end of that car.
Oh, that's bad news, because I was having a lot of hope for Cyril today. He qualified reasonably well. They got 2 Corvettes in this race, and I was thinking they were going to do pretty well, but obviously that one's not going to do very well at all.
Somewhere between turns 3 and 4, and Cyril Vandermeer looks like he's put paid to his efforts already, but the car may be able to limp back to the pit area. We're still green all the way around this racetrack and running hard.
Doesn't look too good to me, but there we see the lead, and look at the lead that Chip Robinson's got already on Bobby Rahal in that second car.
All right, so Rahal's trying to close up against the already IMSA national champion, number 14, Chip Robinson, who's trying to stretch it out in front. And Robinson's got that Lowenbrow Porsche working quite well in this early stage.
Well, like I said at the beginning of the show, he didn't actually fall into this championship. He won it very well. There we see the in-car camera of Jeff Brabham. This is a replay of the start. And Jeff, you can see him twitching the wheel there frantically as his front wheels lock up, and he just nudges the back of Chip Robinson's car. While he does that, of course, Bobby Rahal, we see there, snuck down the right-hand side of Jeff Brabham, so he'll be a bit teed up at the moment.
Well, that was a crisp picture from that in-car camera. Let's hope it holds like that all day long. We're back on the leader right now, through the sweeper, the fastest portion of this racetrack, and now hard on the brakes for Chip Robinson.
Yeah, as he's swinging through that long turn 7 at the far end of the course, through 8, bit of a right-hand sweep up to 3rd there, back to turn 9, a left-hander, stay in 2nd probably through here, and now he's turning onto the fastest part of the straight, through that little S-bend there, and onto the start-finish line, where they'll get up to 5th gear in about 170 miles an hour. And look at the lead is extended over Bobby Rahal.
Well, it's an enormous battle, or stretch out for the lead. Robinson is really using this racetrack. He's practically throwing the car from side to side.
Well, he's determined to do well. There's no doubt about it. Coming into turn 3 there, down to 2nd gear again, and on to the gas, and he goes to those real fast sweeping corners coming up.
He's had a stellar season so far, no doubt about it, whether he's in the 24-hour type of races or the short one like this 2-hour long race. And in fact, we're only about 4 minutes into the 2-hour race. I understand we have got a pit report. The crew chief of the Corvette team is standing by, and Lyn St. James is down along the pit lane. So we will go there now and find out what the story is on Cyril Vandermeer's Corvette.
Cyril had a misfortune out there. Do you know what happened?
No, I haven't spoken to him yet, but he's either crashed into the wall or hit another car, but the front end of the car has been knocked off, and we won't be able to fix it today, so it's out of the race right now.
Sounds like he's resigned to the fact that at least one of the Corvettes is history already.
It certainly is, and there we see the Lowenbrow car of Chip Robinson already making inroads into the back markers in this race. He swings through that 2nd gear, turn 1. There we see one of the Camel Light cars in front of him.
Here's our rundown at the moment. Robinson in front, Rahal 2nd, Moss is 3rd, Cobb is 4th, and Brabham 5th. But we're just starting the 2 hours. Come on back.
In a world where every day brings greater wonders, one event stands triumphant: the Olympic Games. This February, the Winter Games come to Canada for the very first time, and you can share the wonder of it all. Presenting the official coins of the Calgary 1988 Olympic Winter Games, the power, the prestige, the glory of Olympic competition, captured in flawless sterling silver. 10 sports, 10 coins, superbly crafted by the Royal Canadian Mint. Order now toll-free 1-800-268-6364, Department 23. Receive this display case with the complete collection. Each coin, $42. Call 1-800-268-6364, Department 23, and share the wonder, share the glory.
We're back in Del Mar, California for the first Camel Grand Prix of Del Mar, and you're looking at the leader just sneaking in underneath you, number 14, Chip Robinson, who's now 9 seconds in front of Bobby Rahal, and here comes Rahal in the Bud car.
And this is the dice for 2nd spot. As you can see, there's Rahal there, number 86, 85 is Jochen Mass, and that, of course, is the team car, both owned by Bruce Levin, and right behind them is Bryce Cobb in the 16 car, who started up on the front row, but as we saw, got caught in that Schmozzle, and it's put him behind these 2 guys. A very, very tight race for 2nd, 3rd, 4th here.
You know, there's another thing that comes to play here. There's the noise level that these cars are allowed to put out. The IMSA regulations call for 110 dBs on the A scale at 50 feet. In other words, they've got to be pretty quiet, and they have been enforcing that regulation quite stiffly this weekend, David.
Well, I think some of these drivers are driving so carefully they're not trying to make the tires squeal, just in case the tire squeal exceeds the decibel level. There we see Jochen Mass going into turn 7 there, having a go down the inside of his teammate. Well, not his really teammate, but their team cars. It's a good job that Bruce Levin can't see what we can see now, otherwise he might be sweating quite profusely.
Yep. Number 86, Ray Hall, in the second place spot. Number 85, Moss in third. Both cars owned by the same owner, so that's what we're talking about. Keep them off of each other.
Well, of course, you can see them getting involved in that slower traffic, too. And when these guys are trying to race hard for position, that slower traffic, it's also trying to race for position as well. You can't expect to just magically disappear off the track. But it does make it extremely difficult. And obviously, Bobby Rahal is looking for any kind of a break where he can slip around one of these slower cars coming into a crucial part of the track and make some ground on these other two. So far, obviously, he's not having much luck. All these guys, as you can see, using all of the road available here.
Price Cobb coming back into your picture up on the top end of it. Cobb now sitting in about that right behind Moss. Uh-oh, Cobb in trouble and off on a spin-out area.
Well, he looks okay, but it made enough noise doing it. He thumped off the wall, but the car looks okay. As you can see, he's having to do a proper three-point turn here. Racing cars are not renowned for their lock. They're not like London taxi cabs. It takes a lot to get these cars facing back in the right direction. And there's old Price in there, fixing first, reverse, first again, staggering out to the traffic. No doubt really mad now.
Cutting it like it was a big truck. Cobb re-enters, and apparently there's not a major amount of damage to it. And we're back on the leader once again. The number 14 car going so well, and Chip Robinson hasn't put a wheel wrong so far.
Going through the turn, well, 1 there, that's a flick through turn 2. That's quite quick, that's third gear. Down to second again for turn 3, and then to this very fast, sweeping complex.
3 liters turbocharged. That's the engine in the Porsche, and they can make an awful lot of horsepower. There's reports of 750 to 800 horsepower possible out of these cars, and they can certainly get underway in a hurry.
Well, I think with the boost they're running today, they're probably running at round about the 700, 750 mark for sure.
Once again, the number 14 car, Robinson, now a full 10 seconds in front of Bobby Rahal, and looks like he's on a cruise. There's a shot of the young man. Fine driver, very fine driver, and we'll see him in a lot of different competition over the years.
Well, he and I were scheduled to drive at Le Mans this year with Sorrel van der Merwe, who we've already seen out of this race, and unfortunately our car only managed to do 3 laps before it was out of the Le Mans 24, but I was really looking forward to driving with Sorrel and Chip.
David, you've spent a lot of time in these forms of cars and done a lot of winning. When you turn around now and come up on traffic, you come up on, like this time, he's coming up on Jim Rothbart, the leader in Camel Lights. You got to use your head, right?
Yes, you've got to be a bit careful, and of course you catch them up on a straight like that very, very fast, and of course you accelerate much quicker than them as well. In terms of stopping and turning.
Whoa, that's our leader who just spun off as he tried to pass the first place Jim Rothbart in Camel Light, and there he sits in the turnout area of turn 2.
Yeah, he's just off the road. I don't know whether the car's damaged or not. I can't see very well yet. Left front looks a bit dinged to me, yeah.
Left front is rearranged heavily. The corner worker's out to try and get with him. I think they're going to have to pull him from that location. Now we've got our new leader. Number 86, Bobby Rahal, inherits the lead.
Yeah, well, Bobby Rahal has certainly had a most successful year in IMSA this year. He hasn't done all that many races. And of course, as I said earlier, he's already won 3 and come second twice, driving with Jochen Mass, that car, number 85, that's right behind him now. So he's had a very successful IMSA year, as well as being, of course, the national champion in cars. And, of course, being that national champion makes him a crowd favourite. You can hear the crowd willing him on and cheering as he takes the lead away from poor old Chip Robinson, who's spun off.
Well, over 30,000 of them, and they are a vocal group of Southern Californians enjoying this IMSA GTP race that's going on right now. Del Mar, California is where we're at, in case you're just tuning in, and you're looking at the leader and second place in the same picture, coming on one of the fastest portions of the race course.
That's down the main straightaway into turn 1, that tight right-hander. Oh, there's the pace car's coming out. The pace car nearly took Jochen Mass out the race, but the pace car has just come out. I guess that must be to move Chip Robinson's disabled car.
Yeah, we're getting the report. They're going to have to tow Chip Robinson's number 14, so there are yellow flags out all the way around, but the pace car did miss its cue as they try to move Robinson away from the incident now. Robinson says, I can do this by myself. Let's go to Lyn St. James.
I'm talking to Kevin Kern, who is the crew chief of the number 14 Lowenbrow car. What happened to Chip?
Well, we're not sure what happened, but apparently the car got away from him for whatever reason, and he tagged the wall with the front end. So the nose cone's gone, and some of the suspension is broken. We won't be able to continue.
The Nissan pace car has the field under control, and they're at a slow pace that they don't like, do they, David?
No, it's not very good, especially for the Porsche engines. They tend to load up, although they have a special enriching control now on the dashboard, so when they do these pace laps, they can turn the mixture down to run real lean, so they don't do that. Used to be a big problem. Well, a bit of a misjudgment there by old Chippy, as he had the lead well and truly locked up. He had a very big lead, but trying to lap one of the slower cars here proved to be his undoing, which of course is very, very easy to do because there's a lot of traffic here, and it's very difficult for the Camel Light cars as well. It's not easy.
Another thing to point out at this moment, while we're under the pace car in a rather controlled circumstance, this is not a fixed number of laps long race. You know, like we're not running 100 laps or 200 laps. We're running for 2 hours. So effectively the time keeps running.
Another person that has actually profited from that little incident, of course, is Jeff Brabham. There you see him in the number 83 car, the blue Nissan, right behind the two front runners now.
All right, now down in the pit area, I understand Lyn St. James has got Chip Robinson, so we ought to go down there right now and find out what his story is.
Well, I'm here with Chip Robinson, driver of the number 14 car. We knew it was going to be quite a race, quite a start. What happened?
Well, I went to go buy one of the Camel Light cars, one of the Fieros, and I thought he was pulling out of the way, and I started to go by him, and then he chopped back across my nose and put the front end of my car into the wall.
So the case of traffic with the slower traffic has bit you.
Yeah, it really got me this time.
You might get into the number 1 car, is that right?
Well, yeah, we're still running that car, and I think he's in 4th right now, so we still got a shot at it there. And, you know, I think Derek can run a little bit harder now, knowing that he's only going to do an hour, and I'll get back in for the second hour, maybe.
So Robinson may get back in, may spend more time on this racetrack. We'll have to watch and see. We'll be back with more racing right after this. Currently, Rahal in front, Moss in second, Brabham third, Bell in fourth, and Haywood in fifth.
With so many big men in the NHL right now, it can get uncomfortable on the ice for players like me. But there's something else I feel uncomfortable about. Something that should make us all feel very uncomfortable. It's a problem that could turn your family's life into a nightmare. And it won't go away just because you as a parent wish it would. You teenagers won't escape it either, unless you have positive alternatives. The more we know about this problem, the better we'll be able to fight it now, not later. Because later is too late when the problem is drugs. Please believe me. And please believe the Council on Drug Abuse when they visit your local school or community. Since 1969, CODA has learned a great deal about drug abuse that can help you and your family. You can help CODA, CODA can help you. Call or write the Council on Drug Abuse. Get educated, get involved, and let's get rid of drugs so we can all live comfortably.
We're still in the first half hour of competition. In fact, we're going green after that last yellow flag right now. Bruce Flanders, David Hobbs, and Lyn St. James bringing you the 1987 IMSA season finale, and there was a challenge for second, David.
There certainly was. Jeff Brabham in that Nissan managed to get down the inside of Jochen Mass going into turn 1, and there he is right behind the leader, Bobby Rahal, as they go through turn 2.
You've driven that Nissan. You've spent some time in it.
I drove it at Laguna Seca earlier on this year, and it has got prodigious horsepower, and it just showed it then going down the start-finish straight.
3-liter, double overhead cam, 4 valves. That gets a lot of ponies with that turbocharger working on it. The Nissan is now in the second, splitting the Bruce Levin Porsches, and whoa! Oh, somebody coming bouncing off of the wall right there. It looked like one of the Corvettes. The only one left is Doc Bundy.
Well, it was hard to tell because it was caught up in those cars, and there's the yellow flag being displayed there. The leader here we see, Bobby Rahal, that Nissan. Really running hard, but old Jochen Mass from West Germany giving him a hard time now.
Now, the Nissan made its best move under that green flag condition. It just out-horsepowered the Porsche. We'll have to see if it can put that much ponies back to the ground again. And they're coming back around to the point here pretty soon where Doc Bundy's Corvette should be spread out all over the racetrack. That's Rahal in front.
There we see the Nissan with Jeff Brabham having a little bit of a look down the inside, but he wasn't quite close enough to do anything about it. And he's left Jochen Mass far enough behind that he can't do it. A slower car in front, yellow flags out there.
Yeah, we're yellow now all the way around the race course once again, I understand. And we'll be towing the remnants of the Doc Bundy Corvette is the report we're getting on the headsets right now. So once again, the Nissan pace car will be out. And once again, the Nissan itself, the GTP car, will have a chance at out-accelerating Bobby Rahal. This is the second full course yellow flag, the second time the pace car's been on, and we have only run about 20 some odd minutes in this 2-hour long race. Here's the replay right now of what happened to Bundy.
It looks to me like Bundy's car got away from him when they came out of turn 3. There's a very fast left-right sweep, and of course after a long caution period like they've just had, the tyres have been hot, they go slowly, they pick up a lot of junk, rubber, dust, and you have to be very, very careful on restarts for a couple of laps until the tyres really come back in again. And it looks to me like that's what happened to him. However, of course, from up here in the commentary box, it's very easy for me to say that. I don't really know what's happened. That's what I would conjecture.
Certainly a lot of fiberglass flew all over the racetrack, and it'll be a few minutes before they get this all cleaned up.
Well, it's a very fast spot, that, so he really did slam into that outside wall, and obviously the car will be out for the day. There's no doubt about that.
All right, the pace car's got him once again at that slow, controlled pace. You get a good look at Bobby Rahal out in front of it, the Nissan of Jeff Brabham in second, and Jochen Moss in third. Now, this is the first-place Camel Light car. This is Jim Rothbarth in the number 6 Camel Light car, and Rothbarth has been lucky under this particular set of circumstances. The way the pace car came out, the way the cars were being lapped, Rothbarth actually gained a tremendous advantage, nearly a full lap of this course over second-place Camel Light.
Yeah, well, of course, the way he does that is the pace car comes out in front of the leader and waves everybody else by, and if he just happens to be in the right place at the right time, he has to go right around and join the queue at the back, and of course, he's picked up a lap.
Oh boy, $85,000 is up for the winner overall. This is the richest individual win that IMSA has ever had. That's a lot of money they're going for.
It certainly is a lot of money, and it proves the point that I've been trying to make for years, that the money does bring the cars out. We've got the best GTP field of the year, and we've got the biggest prize money. It can't just all be coincidence.
Now, $60,000 of that prize money is contributed by the Camel brand of R.J. Reynolds, and they certainly helped this form of racing out immeasurably. And as David said, the cars come out, and we've got a stellar field. Lyn St. James talked to a lot of the drivers earlier.
Elliott Forbes Robinson, driver of the number 83 Nissan. Elliott, there's a lot of money on the line. $85,000 if you win the race today. What are you going to do with all that money?
Well, unfortunately, I got two problems with that. The team's going to want a lot of that money, and my wife's here. So she's going to know about it, so I probably won't get a whole lot of that money.
Well, the stock market doesn't look very good. I think I'd convert it to nickels or quarters and just roll around in it.
Well, I'll tell you, on Tuesday, I'm closing on my new house. So I know exactly where my share of that purse money is going.
Well, you know, Lyn, it's been really good this year. Rob's a real good guy to work for, and he's made some super arrangements for me to pay him back in installments for letting him drive his car. So I think it'll make a big chunk out, take a chunk out of that.
Can't beat a good sense of humor, but there's somebody that won't have a good sense of humor today, and that's Doc Bundy's car. Rather badly damaged, and obviously will not be racing again today. So that's both Corvettes, and there we see Long John Silver Bundy staggering back to the pits.
And telling the people nobody was at fault. Nobody was at fault in that deal. Well, Mr. Goodwrench has got a lot of work for him. Right now, we're concentrating on the pit lane. These are some of the Camel Light leader cars in, and they must make a mandatory driver change. So there are 2 different drivers in each Camel Light car. Now, in the GTP cars, you can go solo if you want. And that's our leader moving back out of the pit lane. It is Charles Morgan behind the wheel. Jim Rothbarth now takes his helmet off and relaxes.
For the rest of the day. And of course, some of the drivers in the GTP were a bit worried. There we see the starter.
Phil Binks is getting ready, telling them 1 more lap to go.
And there we see Eenie, Meenie, Miney, and Mo, and Mo Senior at Lakeside Villas.
And we're going to be coming back with more of this action. First and second place in both divisions. Rahal and Brabham leading GTP. Morgan and Skeeter McKittrick leading Camel Lights.
Good morning and welcome to Sports Break. I'm Paul Romanek. A busy Sunday in sports. Let's get to the NHL and the 4 games played. In Philadelphia, the basement-dwelling Flyers playing host to the surprising New Jersey Devils. Devils broke out to a 3-1 lead, but the Flyers tied it before the first period ended on a shot by Ilka Sinisalo. No more scoring in regulation or overtime due to some good goaltending, like this by Philadelphia's Ron Hextall. New Jersey moving into first place in the Patrick, while the Flyers are tied with the Rangers for last. Let's move on to Calgary. Flames home to Buffalo. Sabres getting good saves from goalie Darren Pupa in this game. Buffalo erupting for 4 goals in the second period, including Phil Housley's 10th. This puts the Sabres up by a score of 5-1. Pupa with 41 saves as Buffalo moves into a tie for second in the Adams with Quebec. On to Chicago, where the Blackhawks' first 3 goals came on the power play. Nice passing as Wayne Presley makes it 3-2. 13 goals in this game. Chicago's Denis Savard getting his 9th career hat trick and also showing off hockey's version of the slam dunk. Blackhawks hang on to beat the North Stars 8-5. Savard with 6 points, only 2 behind Gretzky now. Elsewhere in and around the National Hockey League, Daniel Berthiaume stopped 29 shots as the Jets defeated the Canucks 3-1. Winnipeg goals from McBain, Smale, and Boschman. Stan Smeo got Vancouver's only goal. In CFL action, Winnipeg led Toronto 18-17, but Lance Chomick connecting on this 55-yard field goal as time runs out. Argos beat the Blue Bombers 20-18. Toronto running up 312 yards in offense compared to just 178 for Winnipeg. In Vancouver, the Lions intercepted Saskatchewan quarterback Kent Austin 5 times as the Lions win their 4th straight since Larry Donovan takes over as head coach. BC kicker Louis Pasaglia kicking 2 field goals to set a CFL record of 52. Comebacks, the story in NFL action. San Diego trailing the Colts by 13 at the half, but this field goal by Vince Abbott with 12 seconds left gave the Chargers a 16-13 win over Indianapolis. LA Raiders running back Bo Jackson drawing all kinds of attention in Minnesota, but it was the Vikings that converted turnovers by Bo into points. Minnesota 31, Los Angeles 20. The Buffalo Bills continuing to surprise the opposition. Bills with a little razzle-dazzle against the Denver Broncos. Buffalo moving to 4-4 with a 7-point win at the expense of Denver. Only 2 teams in the NFC have 7-1 marks, San Francisco and Chicago, but the Bears needed a 52-yard field goal from Kevin Butler on the final play to down Green Bay 26-24. Philadelphia, Randall Cunningham's 3rd touchdown pass of the game to Greg Garrity with under a minute to go, lifting the Eagles to a 31-27 win over Washington. Only 1 game in the NBA played last night. The Rockets and the Lakers. Houston with the pretty plays. Ralph Sampson finishing off with the alley-oop. But this is the Lakers that go on to win their 2nd straight. Magic Johnson with 23 for Los Angeles. Meanwhile, at the Paris Open in France, Tim Mayotte defeating Brad Gilbert in only the 6th All-American final this year on the Grand Prix circuit. Mayotte took 5 sets to collect the $140,000 top prize. In other tennis news, Stefan Edberg won the Stockholm Open for the 2nd straight year, defeating countryman Jonas B. Svensson in Sunday's final. And Pam Shriver upset Chris Everett in the 3 sets to win the Virginia Slims tournament in Massachusetts. Now for our play of the day, we return to the Chicago Stadium to watch Denny Savard of the Blackhawks, and he is a pleasure to watch indeed, although perhaps netminder Don Beaupre didn't think so. We'll get another look at it in slow-mo, and it looks just as impressive. Japan's Ayako Akamoto became the first non-American to lead the LPGA Tour in money winnings, Akamoto finishing 2nd in the last event yesterday to finish ahead of Betsy King. That is Sports Break. Thanks for watching.
From the Goodyear airship Columbia, based out of Carson, California, Charles Russell, the pilot. And look at that shot. It has turned into the most beautiful Sunday here in Del Mar. And David, these are almost ideal racing conditions, are they not?
They are indeed. The sun's shining brightly, but not too bad yet. And of course, the weather is not too hot, which is the main thing for these drivers on this sort of a circuit where you really work up a bit of a sweat normally. And today, the ambience just fine. Absolutely perfect for racing.
We are just about completed with the 2nd yellow flag condition, and we are about ready to go green flag. There's the pace car diving off of the track, and the green flag is waving, and Ray Hall still in front.
That Budweiser Porsche of Bruce Levin going exceptionally well again today. Right behind him the Nissan of Jeff Brabham. And there we see the Torno car from Italy, the Torno-sponsored car from Italy, driven by Segalia and Larori, coming through into the picture for the first time.
And they have now worked their way into the top 5. They're in the 5th place position when they went by the Jaguar right there. As we look, there is your leader, Bobby Rahal. We've talked about it. He's having a dynamite year, but right behind him, there is a battle going on as the Nissan GTP car and Jochen Mass and the other Porsche try to outbrake each other.
Yeah, old Jochen there, but old Jeff Brabham said, not this time, sunshine. And as they weave their way through the back end of the course here, onto one of these fast 4th or 5th gear straights, and that long sweeping corner into turn 7. Tricky sort of corner, that, because you're almost flat out going into what is going to be now a really tight corner, but you approach it around that long, fast sweeper. So a lot of delicacy has to be put onto braking there.
And Jochen Mass is all over the back of Jeff Brabham right now. He does want by to put his team in 1st and 2nd place. Again, a shot of Rahal as he powers off of the corner with that 3-liter turbocharged Porsche.
Bobby Rahal, of course, is an excellent driver. As we've seen, already said, he's won the kart championship for the second consecutive year this year. And he's very smooth, very unflappable, good in traffic, but extremely fast. So he really has got very, very few faults.
We're in an unusual condition right here. Sharing the booth with me is David Hobbs. And David, you have been behind the wheel of both the first and second place cars. Is there a way to compare the two?
No, you might ask why I'm in the booth today instead of being out there, which of course would be the most pertinent question. But the Nissan has got slightly more horsepower. The Porsche is generally considered to be the more rugged car. They really do well in these longish races. But the Nissan, of course, has got a lot of development to go yet to catch up with these Porsches, and I think it will remain and become a big threat in 1988.
Well, the top three, as spread apart as they have been all race long, with what, over a car length between each one of them as they come through the sweeper this time.
A very, very close race is for first, second, and third. You don't often see a road race in any type of racing. Formula One, NASCAR, Indy cars. You very rarely see a race that's quite as closely fought as this for the top position.
Now, we're going to take an opportunity to put you in car with the Nissan once again. We've been getting beautiful pictures from the car, and let's watch Brabham go to work, and let's listen to him work, too.
Comes down to that second gear corner. Snatches third before he goes to this left-hand sweep, which is the second turn. Back down to second for this tight left-hander. Sun's starting to shine to that windscreen now badly. Up to third, fourth. This is where Doc Bundy had his unfortunate incident. Sweeps right again here. Left. Pretty tricky bit of track, that. Difficult to overtake on, too. Down into turn 5. This will be second gear. You see the car's pushing a little bit there. Understeering, he's using a lot more lock than you'd like to, probably. Up to third and fourth. Now into fifth. Now we're coming up to that bit I was just telling you about, where you have to, coming through this fast left-hander, he's going to be braking for this tight left-hander and changing down to second gear, or probably third, actually.
Ooh, the sun really shines there.
You really get an idea of how the sun's shining there. Now he's down to second.
He doesn't shift as often as I thought.
Well, I guess he's probably shifting about 15, 20 times a lap. A lot of these guys short shift on the way down. If they're in fifth and they want second, they don't go fourth and third into second. They just wait till they get to the required speed. Like, he's in fifth on the straight there, and when he wants second gear for turn 1, he'll brake, and then right at the last minute, snick it into second.
We're back on the leader right now. Bobby Rahal in that red and white Bud car, and since he inherited the lead in this race, he's done nothing wrong at all. In fact, he's done hardly anything wrong all season long in any kind of race car.
Certainly not doing much wrong today, and now we see the front three really thrashing it out.
Coming into the pits, this is a report I just got in the headsets. The number 43 Camel Light car of Chip Mead. The report is Chip Mead is exceeding the sound level, the amount of noise that is allowed to be made by a race car. Now, it's measured 50 feet from the perimeter of the racetrack, and 110 dB on the A scale is the maximum, and the number 43 car you're watching now adjusting their exhaust note. They're busy trying to put a little fuel in or do whatever, but the thing they've got to do before they can get back out on the racetrack is try to quiet the car down.
Yeah, they'll probably put a little baffle over the end of the exhaust pipe to try and break up the exhaust out there. We see Charles Morgan in the leading Camel Light car.
Well, that Minolta car, it's a spice. I think the chassis made in Great Britain, the engine, a Pontiac Fiero made here in the United States.
Yeah, the cars are made just down the road from where I live in England. Of course, the funny thing about that noise is it's always the small cars that seem to make the most noise, and some of them you wonder how they can make so much noise and yet be so slow. Part of the mystery of life, I suppose.
These Camel Light cars, now have you ever driven a Camel Light car?
I drove the Gebhardt with a BMW engine with my son Greg in the Sebring 12-hour earlier on in this year. He's attempted to be a race driver like his dad, and he and I drove together in the Gebhardt for about 6 out of the 12 hours.
Well, a guy like Charles Morgan right now has to be aware of what's coming up behind him. He has to drive with his eyeballs in the mirrors once in a while.
Well, it's very, very difficult for the Camel Light drivers, especially on a racetrack like this where there is nowhere to go. They can't just magically disappear off the scene and let the fast cars go by.
There is where the sound is being measured. As you get a shot of the guys, the ones who just put the number 43 car Chip Mead into the pit area. And their job is to try and make the Del Mar Grand Prix as quiet as possible and as fairly quiet for everyone. Here's the number 43 car getting back out now, hopefully quieter. And here comes Bobby Rahal, just motoring his Rahal. Still cannot get very far away from that Nissan of Jeff Brabham. And all over the back of Brabham still is Jochen Moss, the man who lives in Monte Carlo and drives these Porsches so well, running third. Here is who has retired so far through the 30th lap. And you can keep up on that. Many of them accidents, an awful lot of cars still running. We've got a tremendous turnout of cars still working this racetrack hard.
And we see Rahal going through that turn 7, smooth as ever. He really is a very, very good smooth driver and, of course, extremely fast. He's dealing with the traffic well today. He really is. He's had no problems with the traffic, and he's pulled out a bit of a lead now on the Nissan of Jeff Brabham and, of course, Jochen Mass in the other 11 car.
We are approaching the 1/3 point in this race effectively. Again, it is a 2-hour-long race. Rahal has now led it for the last 15 minutes or so, and he'd love to wrap this puppy up and put another big paycheck, $85,000 in his back pocket. Rahal, Brabham, Moss, Bell, and then Lorari in the top 5.
Sunday on TSN, IMSA Racing roars from Del Mar, California when top drivers test their endurance. Then the final from FIFA's World Youth Championships takes place from San Diego, Chile at 4 Eastern. Later, NFL Prime Time recaps every game played on Sunday afternoon. Then the LA Raiders meet the San Diego Chargers live from Jack Murphy Stadium. TSN Sunday is spectacular.
Back in Del Mar, California for the IMSA season finale of 1987, the first Camel Grand Prix. Hello, everybody. I'm Bruce Flanders, along with David Hobbs and Lyn St. James. And out on this racetrack, David, we've still got some great racing going on.
We've got a tremendous race there. We see the second place Nissan, the blue car number 83 of Jeff Brabham, being hounded by Jochen Mass of West Germany in car number 85, one of the Bruce Levin stable out of Seattle, Washington. And these two guys are putting on a real display. Brabham getting a bit looser as he went round turn 7. The back end of that car definitely starting to slide out a little bit.
The Nissan is the only non-Porsche in the top 5 right now. The rest of them are the famed 962 Porsches from Germany.
There we see one of the Camel Light cars has got between the 2 second and third place cars. Jochen Mass soon disposes him as they come down the front straightaway in front of the pit area here at Del Mar into that turn 1. Tight right-hander, close to the wall on exit there, swing into that little left-hander. You can see the flames coming out of the exhaust pipe on these turbo cars on the overrun. Another flash of flame there from Jochen Mass.
You can also see the way the sun is starting to get a little further down in the sky, and the angle of it and the shadows. It's starting to play tricks in the drivers.
Yeah, it certainly looks to me as if it would be uncomfortable. There we just caught a glimpse of our leader, Bobby Rahal, in the Budweiser car, also a Bruce Levin car. Still in the lead, still in control, and of course Levin owning both these cars.
Now we're looking at the number 48 car in the pit lane for a driver change. Skeeter McKittrick is now out of the car, and into the number 48 goes Lorenzo Lamas, the star of Falcon Crest and many other television types of shows.
Pretty keen racer himself. He sang the national anthem here today before the race, and now he's driving in the race, so quite a busy boy.
Yeah, we'll keep him quite busy. You're back on the leader right now, Bobby Rahal, whose big job is to keep it out of trouble. But if he looks in his mirrors much, he'll see Jeff Brabham right behind him again.
Yeah, but Bobby Rahal's putting in a good display today. He's driven pretty well faultlessly so far, and there's been a lot of traffic out there, so it has been difficult. And there you see the Nissans actually caught him up a little bit.
And they are in traffic as they come into turn 2 once again, and Rahal got a piece of Rahal, the 09 car. Steve Durst and Bobby Rahal collided.
And there's the Nissan as well. In fact, they've all come to a rest. They've all come to a complete stop. There's Jochen Mass there on the left of the screen, and there's the Nissan just scraped through. He whistled round the back end of Steve Durst's car, and Jochen Mass went round the front. Both of them a standing start. There's Bobby Rahal still trying to turn around. There's Derek Bell. Derek Bell slipped through.
Derek Bell is now your new third-place car. Oh, look out as we have Don Bell, I think, collecting Steve Durst. His 2 Camel Light cars tangled, and we're back on the leader. The new leader, the Nissan of Jeff Brabham, and Jochen Mass is still all over him like a second coat of paint.
Well, Jeff Brabham certainly took advantage of the conditions there and got himself extricated from off the wall. He was nosed right up to the wall, but he backed up it and pulled away before Jochen could get his car sorted out as well. That looked like just one of those typical racing incidents in traffic.
And there's Don Bell on your left, Steve Durst on your right, and Bell trying to limp. They're both trying to limp it back to the pit area. There is not a full course yellow. Refiring is Don Bell, and he gets his AT&T Pontiac Fiero back underway, but Durst is still stranded mid-course.
Well, that was a bit of a shame that Don Bell ran into him. There was plenty of yellow flags flying, and here I think we're going to see it now on a replay from inside Jeff Brabham's cars. He comes down the straight. That car in front of him is in fact the leader of Bobby Rahal. They're coming up to the lap traffic, coming into turn 2, and Steve Durst obviously didn't see him. And old Jeff Riff, you can see him slowing out there, quickly into reverse. No, not in reverse yet.
Yeah, but this move puts him right back in the lead here, sneaking through.
Obviously hoping against hope then that Steve Durst wasn't about to put it in reverse to try and do a 3-point turn himself.
This is Don Bell, one of the incident cars, and he is limping back. That's Bobby Brown spun in a completely different incident. Number 64, Bobby Brown, sideways on the course.
Well, Don Bell wasn't really part of that first incident. Don Bell joined it later on. I think Don Bell really should have not been involved in that because there were plenty of caution flags, and everybody else missed it, even the very close participants, and he should have been able to avoid that car.
Now, another Bell. This one benefiting from that whole deal was Derek Bell getting into third. You're looking at Ray Hall repairing whatever damage had happened to the Porsche.
It didn't look like he hit anything to me. I think obviously he probably flat spotted his tires when it spun round, and when he hit Don Bell, or when he hit Steve Durst rather, it might have damaged some of the bodywork. But now the race for the lead, just as close as these two have been all day. That Nissan holding off the Porsche of Jochen Mass, but what a close race these two guys are having.
You don't need a stopwatch to tell the differential between first and second. I think you need a feeler gauge to see the difference.
And they certainly don't need a pit board hanging out saying plus or minus. I mean, they can see what the heck's going on very, very easily.
Now, you have driven the car that is in the lead, and you have driven the sister car to the one that's in second place. Does one have an advantage over the other at any spot on this track?
Well, I think the gearbox in the Nissan is slightly nicer to use. It's a crash box. It's a straight cut box. The box on the Porsche is a synchromesh. It's stronger and more reliable over the long haul, but it's a little bit slower on the gear shift. The steering on the Nissan is just a little bit lighter. The steering on the Porsche is a bit heavier. I think the Porsches generally tend to understeer a bit more, which is why all the cars here at Del Mar have got those extra front rings, the extra little chin spoilers, and of course those side fenders, which have all been added on for this race.
Now, the Nissan is a one-off, built by the electromotive people for Nissan, but the Porsche is effectively a production item that you can purchase.
Oh, anybody can purchase it. If you've got about 375,000, you go and buy one tomorrow. I mean, it's absolutely no problem at all. Of course, you've got to buy a few spares, which is about another 200,000, then you've got to run it. That's not to say that the Nissan's cheap.
That was, once again, Steve Durst, and he tangled with the leader as Durst was trying to make his way back to the pit area.
Now, that was inexcusable. It's one thing getting involved in the leader when you're racing yourself, but when you're limping back to the pits to not leave room for the leader is inexcusable. That's bad. That really is bad form.
By the same token, there's a lot of that blue Nissan paint now appearing on several other cars in the field.
There's blue Nissan paint all around his racetrack. There's a bit on the wall back there. There's a bit on the back of Chip Robinson's car that's now parked. And there's bits and pieces of blue paint everywhere.
We're under a yellow flag condition, but only in turn 2 as per IMSA regulations. And that yellow flag will be lifted as soon as the debris is removed from the track, but the debris is still a problem at 2.
Well, maybe that waste management car will suck a bit of it up. I know that that's what Jeff Brabham's hoping, but I expect Jochen Mass is going to keep well away from that debris on the track.
Jochen Mass, the West German, now living in Monte Carlo, chasing the Australian, who's now living in San Clemente, California.
This is a very international sport, IMSA. It's called International Motorsports Association, and you couldn't get much more international than this race today. A lot of foreign drivers here, and of course, a lot of foreign cars.
Now, while we have a second, some of these guys are going to make driver changes. As, for instance, Jeff Brabham is scheduled to change with Elliott Forbes Robinson in a little while. Behind him, though, Jochen Mass is scheduled to go solo. How hard is it on a guy to do 2 hours of this?
Well, Jochen Mass did super sports or super athlete a few years ago, and he did God knows how many press-ups and pull-ups on those parallel bars. So I think that Jochen Mass has got the stamina to really do this race on his own quite satisfactorily. But there is no doubt about it that a fresh driver, in theory, could easily pick up a bit of time, because this is a tight track. It's very demanding. As you can see, there's an awful lot of action going on out there, a lot of gear shifting, and so the drivers are bound to be getting tired, and the drivers who are going to change are obviously hoping that their co-drivers will be just that bit fresher and take the car into winter circle.
First and second place, not a full second between them as they accelerate once again onto one of the fastest portions of the racetrack underneath the Goodyear Bridge and into the sweeper corner. And that's Jeff Brabham in front of it, overtaking again some of the Camel Light cars.
Yeah, there's been a lot of traffic today. Of course, it's a relatively short track. There's a big field this weekend, partly because of the prize money. So there is a tremendous amount of traffic. Now he's got bulled by four of them there in front of 3, rather. Now, this is one of those parts where it's very, very difficult to make a judgment call. Are you going to push your way through, or are you going to wait for the traffic to clear up? You've got to be very careful.
If you wait too long, Jochen Mass will be by you, though.
Well, exactly. There's no point leaving him room. You've got to somehow block him out without actually overtaking the cars in front of him.
All right, Dynamite Drive, one more slower car to get through, and again, that debris still partially there in turn number 2, and Moss still all over the back of the Nissan as we motor on. And in the third place spot now is Derek Bell in another Porsche 962.
Yeah, he's driving a sister car to Chip Robinson, the one that we saw earlier on, and of course Chip did allude to the fact that he may well take that car over. And that would be a case of a two-driver team there, two of the best drivers here in the race, and a really fresh Chip Robinson getting into that car might be able to put Jochen Mass away in the later stages of this race just because he is fresher. We'll have to see what they do when they come to their regular pit stops, which won't be all that long now. We're getting down to pit stop time.
Now, fuel will not be a problem in this 2-hour race, will it?
No, it won't be. They'll stop at around about the hour and 10 minutes, so they'll be in plenty of time for fuel. It's no big problem. I should think one of the problems, though, now, quite frankly, is the sunshine. It looks to me like it could be a major problem shining into those cars as they go west here.
Well, it's not a problem for the spectators. They love it as the sun is just beating down on them. This is a shot of the Bell Tower, a familiar place here at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, and there's your top 5. Brabham, Moss, Bell, and then Larari, and Wallach is in the 5th place spot.
A legend comes to home video.
Stopping, is it important? You better believe it. If you've ever run into
the greatest measure of the man is his ability to teach, to pass on his knowledge to the young. And this Gordie Howe does with sincerity and style. With the help of Ed Jackaman and sons Mark, Marty, and Murray, Gordie has prepared a series of programs that detail every aspect of the game: skating, shooting, stick handling, goaltending, defense, forward, conditioning, and a very special insight into coaching. Hockey, here's how.
Get this 7-volume set today. Call now 1-800-387-3891 and ask for How Operator, or send check or money order to First Priority How Offer, P.O. Box 1, Mississauga, Ontario, L4T 3B5.
Just over 20 miles north of San Diego, California, is where the Del Mar Fairgrounds are located. You're looking right now at a great overhead shot of the horse racing track and zeroing in where most of the fair happens. Now, during the months of June and July, this is the 2nd largest fair in the state of California. Nearly 1 million people come to have ice cream and cotton candy and judge the pigs and the pigeons and the chickens and all of the things that happen at the fair. 1 million of them ready to party during the summer months. Along with all of the Ferris wheels and rides like that, there is another part of the Del Mar Fairgrounds, one that uses a different breed of horsepower. Yeah, 1 horsepower at a time. Now, it was 50 years ago when Bing Crosby, Jimmy Durante, and Pat O'Brien started the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. And boy, every reason to be proud of the way the tradition has continued on. It's one of the finest thoroughbred meetings of the year in the state of California, and it certainly brings a lot more people to the Del Mar Fairgrounds. But this weekend, it's a different breed of horsepower. Aha, the IMSA GTP cars, and we're back racing on the Del Mar Fairgrounds' newest road circuit. And in front of it, number 83, the Nissan of Jeff Brabham. And David Hobbs, that Nissan hasn't skipped a beat.
And nor, of course, is Jochen Mass, who is still just a few feet behind that Nissan of Jeff Brabham as they come up to lap one of the slower cars, going into that long, fast approach to the tight, slower turn 7. That's car number 36. That's a Mazda Royale. That's not in contention for the championship, but these two guys really are. Jochen Mass would like to get another win this year, and that would make him the winningest driver in GTP racing. But at the moment, Jeff Brabham is looking for his first win of the 1987 season, and looks at the moment to be in pretty good shape to take it.
Now, David, we've set up before the fact that you've had a lot of seat time in these kind of race cars. Would you rather be in the lead or in 2nd place right now as you come up on traffic?
Well, it's one of those imponderables. It doesn't matter where you are. You always seem to be in the wrong place. It's kind of like changing lane on the freeway. It doesn't matter where you are. You always seem to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Both those lead cars getting a bit skittish now as they come through turn 2. It must be getting slippery. There's oil and water getting dropped on the track as the race progresses, and they both looked a little bit unstable as they flick through that turn 2 and break down to 2nd gear for turn 3. But I don't know where the best place to be is, quite honestly, in a position like this. Jochen Mass can sort of sit back and watch Jeff force his way through the traffic. On the other hand, there's always the danger that somebody you're lapping doesn't realize that he's being very closely followed by somebody else and could move back onto line and take out the 2nd place car. So I don't know. There's never really a really great place to be in a situation like this. Although usually the 2nd place man has it. There we see Jeff Brabham, the current leader of the Nissan.
And the son of the multi-time world champion Sir Jack Brabham. He grew up in this sport, so he's familiar with racing.
Yeah, the first time I saw Jeff Brabham was at a Formula 2 race in Sweden. when he was a 12-year-old lad, and I was racing against his dad in the Formula 2 race.
You know, one thing, there is the Jaguar. Now, the Jaguar is making its last appearance of the year. In fact, quite possibly the last appearance ever for the car. And reports are coming in, David, that the Jaguar may be the reason for some of the droppages or leakages out on the racetrack.
Well, it's certainly going well. It sounds absolutely wonderful. Oh, there you see a bit of smoke coming out of the back of it there on that downshift as he comes into turn 7. And you can see a light spray coming. It's hard to tell really what it is in that sunshine now is getting very bad as well. But this is the last appearance of the Group 44 Jaguar. And they've come from 8th on the grid, and they're up to like 5th or 6th spot now.
On the side of the car, it says Performance Jaguar. That's a local San Diego dealer who certainly wanted to see that car here this weekend, and his dream is being fulfilled. By the way, this is a normally aspirated car, not turbocharged, which is allowed a bigger engine. 6 liters for those of you who measure it in the metric style, or 366 cubic inches for those of you who measure American style.
Yes, and of course, a lot of people there, you see that smoke and stuff coming out the back of that car again, and there's a couple of the Camel Lights. That's the number 6 car that we've already seen.
That's Rothbarth and Morgan, who are leading Camel Lights, and the car behind them is shown in 2nd place, but it's down a lap, and effectively, if he gets by, all he will do is unlap himself.
That's the Chevy engine car, so we've got some good manufacturer representation here. The Chevrolet overtaking the Pontiac engine.
Number 73, Steve Phillips in the Camel Light car, moving around the leader and effectively now unlapping himself. If there's another full course yellow flag, that'll certainly play a portion in it.
Yes, that could be the only thing that would really help him at the moment. I don't think he's got enough time to unlap himself in normal racing, but the caution would make a lot of difference to him.
By the way, for those of you who may be watching your first IMSA race, you'll see blue flags hung out in front, blue flags with a yellow stripe on them. Now, they are signifying a driver that behind him is coming one of the faster cars, and he should move over, but that's effectively an option, isn't it?
Well, it's not so much a move over flag as a warning flag to tell you that you are about to be overtaken. Now, 73 there might well have confused it and thought, yes, they're showing me the blue flag because number 6 is right behind me, but of course, in fact, it's 67, that's Bob Wallach in the Goodrich car, so obviously he's got to be careful now to let Wallach through when he can.
Bob Wallach motoring along real well in that BF Goodrich car, now kind of squeezing him out of his braking point there too.
Bob Wallach is not a man to be trifled with, I can tell you that.
All right, there is one of the beautiful condominiums overlooking the Pacific Ocean here at Del Mar. Pretty town. Jeff Brabham in front, Moss 2nd, Bell 3rd, Larari in 4th, and Wallach, who we were just watching, 5th.
Can your motor oil survive the punishment today's engines dish out? Circulating it twice as fast, working it twice as hard, breaking it down and causing it to lose its viscosity. That's why you need an oil with the additive that does more to help prevent viscosity breakdown. Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's cars. Look for Castrol XLR at these and other leading retailers.
Speedway America. You've never seen anything quite like it. Intense competition, high-speed drama, and always the unexpected. 2- and 4-wheel machines going flat out on a tight oval. One of England's favorite pastimes. The love of going to the Speedway has come to America. Watch all the action and excitement of Speedway America, Tuesdays on the Sports Network.
We're back in Del Mar, California for the first Camel Grand Prix. I'm Bruce Flanders along with David Hobbs and Lyn St. James, and you're watching the lead car, the number 83, the Nissan of Jeff Brabham. And he has been our 3rd different leader in this event. And David, again, that one looks real good at the moment.
Well, he's been our 3rd different leader, but he's led for a long time now. He's been getting a pretty close run from Jochen Mass, who is not even in the picture there. We just see him come into the frame there, but he's stretched out a bit of a lead. He's probably had a bit of a break in traffic somewhere, and now he's really putting on a terrific display.
The pit area for the Nissan crew, and they are readying for the pit stops as we're beyond the halfway point effectively in this race. They'll be bringing him in for all 4 corners of tires and fuel. Right now, you're looking at that Jaguar. No, further on back, the Nissan. Whoa, what a ride, Jeffrey.
Boy, that was a lucky stroke there. He spun right into that small gap, that small parking slot, never hit a thing by the look of things. It didn't look as if he hit anything anyway.
No, it didn't touch the concrete, but it was sure a thrill ride. Now, the new leader, number 85, Jochen Mass, our 4th leader of this event.
Jochen going around turn 7 there. no doubt mentally congratulating himself on not doing the same as young Jeffrey Brabham, and has now got a fairly good lead in this race as Jeff extricated himself. Oh, still is extricating himself, so that really has given Jochen Mass a lot of breathing room as Jeff Brabham gets underway again in the Nissan. Now let's look at it, in fact, from inside the Nissan. Here we see him coming out of turn 3, sweeping around this left-hander. Everything so far okay. Sweeps on down the straight here in 4th, 5th gear. Puts the brakes on. And as he puts the brakes on, obviously something goes wrong. He slips already. You can see him looking over his shoulder there as he backs into that very small parking spot. Now fumbling around trying to find first gear and get himself out of there. And there's the new leader, Jochen Mass, with a pretty substantial lead, I would imagine. Hard to tell just yet.
At the moment, Jochen Mass certainly is in control of this event as he motors around the racetrack. The Bayside disposal car, the 4th different leader of this event, and yet keep in your mind, pit stops are due up. The really organized pit stops for the top 5 runners anyway are due soon.
Yeah, now Jochen, of course, won't be changing, but Jeff, in fact, will be getting out of that car. There we see Jochen Mass, the West German. He now lives in Monaco, and of course he's got a fantastic boat, which Jochen spends a lot of time on, a huge old brig. It's a very interesting boat. He's very keen on sailing, but just right now his mind is not really on sailing. It's now keeping his mind concentrated on that very narrow bit of asphalt between these very unyielding walls.
Onto the front straightaway comes our leader, and he goes underneath the Camel Bridge, does not go into pit lane, so no pit stop. We're looking now at 2nd place. That's number 1, Derek Bell in the Lowenbrow car, and behind him is Bobby Rahal. Now, Rahal is down a lap to him and shown in 7th place on the leaderboard. But Derek Bell has been putting on a dynamite drive.
He has, actually. He qualified 8th, but he's had a very steady, cool race, but fast enough. And now he's pulled himself up, profited from other people's mistakes, and he's running in a good, strong 2nd spot on the same lap as the leader. We've got pit stops to come. I think Jochen Mass will stay in the car, but we don't know whether Derek will or not. Derek may be replaced by a young and chipper, Chip Robinson, who's had a bit of time to recover from his incident earlier on. So that could add a whole new dimension to this race later on.
That's Derek Bell coming at you at speed right now. Rahal behind him. Brakes come on heavily right here for turn 1. They really use up the brakes.
They certainly do. They come from about 160, 165 miles an hour from 5th gear down to 2nd and about 45 or 50 miles an hour.
On the front of that number 1 car, oh wait, we're in the pits. That's Jochen Mass in the pits. The crew is attending to him right now, and boy, that was a relatively quick stop. And there goes Mass back out onto the racetrack, or at least down pit lane, rolling.
Okay, so that was our leader. He would probably have lost the lead to Derek. It'll be interesting to see whether he has lost the lead on that pit stop to Derek or not. And boy, as he left the pits then, you could really see the sun shining on Jochen Mass sitting in that car. It must be getting a bit of a problem to him now.
Under the Goodyear Bridge does come your new leader. This is Derek Bell. He is in front of it now, and he's our 5th different leader of this 2-hour-long race. So Derek Bell, who's won several IMSA races and several World Endurance Championship races around the world, is now in front of the Grand Prix at Del Mar.
Well, Derek has won a lot of races. He's won enough World Endurance races to be, of course, 2-time world champion in that category, which is very similar to this. And Derek is coming into the pit, so there's Derek's going to lose that lead almost certainly now to Jochen Mass. Depends on the length of the stop, and we'll see if Chip Robinson does in fact get into that car.
All right, here he comes to his braking position. The team jumps out. They'll clean the windshield. They'll put brand new tires on all 4 corners, and that is Chip Robinson opening the door and helping Derek Bell out. So Chip Robinson obviously will now become Derek Bell's co-driver. Now Robinson, in case you just tuned in, Robinson earlier tested the concrete in another Porsche and wrote the car off. Now we've got another leader, although this is our first repeat leader, as number 83, the Nissan, is back in front.
Well, Jeff Brabham, of course, had the spin, went down the escape road, got himself out, but with the 2 pit stops that have come up, that's now given him the lead back. That headlight shield that you can see hanging up there, I don't think is a legacy of his accident. I think that was a legacy of running into the back of Chip Robinson right at the beginning. And there we see Chip Robinson now in the number 1 car, also a Lowenbrow car, getting back out on the pits onto the straight.
So Robinson in 2 different cars now competing in the Grand Prix at Del Mar, but we're focusing on the leader, and this may be pit stop time for him. The number 83 Nissan with Brabham, who's put in a hard hour behind the wheel, coming around and possibly calling on the pit lane in just 1 more corner.
Well, obviously, if you can stretch it out as long as possible, the fuel load, the better off you are, especially in a marginal race, although this one really isn't too marginal. And yes, it looks as if Jeff's coming in this time, and he's almost bound to turn over the car to EFR.
All right, bring in the Nissan, and troubles as there was somebody blocking the pit lane. The number 64 car hampered the access for the Nissan.
Now, you can definitely do without that. That's one thing. Changing all 4 tires. Interesting thing about this car, it runs on Bridgestone tires, Most of the cars in this race, of course, are shod with Goodyear, but IMSA has a pretty full-scale tyre wall going, and this car's got Bridgestone. Bob Wallett's car's on Goodrich, and of course the Aiken Weaver car is on Yokohama. So there's a lot of tyre activity in this championship.
And we've got another leader on top of the whole pack as they go around. It is Jochen Moss showing back on top of the leaderboard once again, while Elliott Forbes Robinson climbs behind the wheel of the formerly driven by Jeff Brabham Nissan.
There we see him weaving his way through a slower part of the track, and that sun really is getting low. You can see it now shining on this Nissan end pit. Oh, it looks like they're getting out a new nose here.
Yes, a whole piece of fiberglass coming over, and we'll have a new nose on the Nissan. In fact, let's watch this change.
The Nissan stopped for 4 tires and fuel and the new front end. New front end on the Nissan.
Boy, don't you just wish that body shops could do it that quickly when you crumple a fender?
I just wish that every time I crumpled a fender, the team that I drove for was as well organised as this one obviously is. Alan Turner's the team manager, an Englishman, and of course Cass is very involved, and Don Devendorf. They obviously did a tremendous job there. That was a very quick pit stop.
Certainly, the excitement will be continuing. There is number 85, Jochen Moss, shown on top of our leaderboard, and we're coming back to Del Mar for more of this action right after this.
There she was, just walking down the street singing.
Silver Eagle Records presents the very best of British rock. 50 original hits by the original stars in this sensational collection. To order, call the number on your screen.
Oh yeah, you really got me now. Bus stop, wet day, she's there, I say, please share my umbrella. Please don't bother trying to find her, she's not there.
This giant TV collection is not sold in stores. You must order now.
In the sunshine of your love.
The very best of British rock. 50 original hits by the original stars. On 4 LPs or 3 long play cassettes, just $24.95. Or on 2 compact discs, only $29.95. Write or call now.
Some of the Southern California race fans gathered here at the Del Mar Fairgrounds for this inaugural Camel Grand Prix of Southern California, and they have been seeing some kind of racing up until now. We're looking at the second place car. This is Oscar Lorari out of Italy, and they're an impressive run.
They've had a very, very good run. They qualified way down in 12th. They came here, they missed the first day of practice altogether because Lorari got here late. I don't know, he lost his luggage or what. And they finally went out for the qualifying and practice on the second day, so they had half as much running time on this track as anybody else, qualified relatively poorly in 12th spot, and here he is running up in second. Had a very, very good run this afternoon.
The Brun Porsche going quite well in one of its few West Coast appearances for IMSA racing.
The Brun team does a lot of, I would just add that the Brun team does a lot in the World Sports Car Championship in Group C, back in Europe, and of course,
this car has not made a pit stop either, by the way, and that's maybe part of the reason they've climbed so far up the leaderboard. Everyone else has made the stops that are necessary, or most everyone else has. But here is Lorari possibly taking a pit stop after this next corner. We'll watch closely.
Well, he must be about getting ready for one now because everybody else has stopped, and obviously the car can't run forever. Up there he comes now, yeah.
Yeah, he's making a right-hand turn into the pit entry right now, and we'll keep an eye on it. It should be, if they're making the driver change, Segala will now get behind the wheel. Lorari will climb out of the car.
You see the crew attacking the car, the usual verb.
And there's our leader once again, Jochen Moss, in that Bayside Waste Management car that's in front and trying to use his head getting through traffic.
Yeah, Jochen at the moment, of course, the only car on the same lap of him is the #1 car, which was driven by Derek Bell, and of course is now driven by Chip Robinson. And there is our lead at the moment.
And for those of you that may have stopped and gotten yourself a soda pop or something, the number 83 car, the Nissan, no longer close, but boy, for several laps, they were right on top of each other.
Tremendous race earlier on, one of the best races I've seen in GTP racing. There you see a classic confrontation of the Camel Light and the Camel GTP as they go through that complex, and there we see Segala now driving the Segala car leaving the pits.
Okay, so Lorari out of the car, Segala making the re-entry right there, and we'll get out in front of Jochen Moss. Here comes Moss right through turn 1, and there's Lorari just getting up to speed. Excuse me, Segala.
Now he'll be trying to not get himself put down a lap, but of course just pulling out of the pits, there's a pretty slim chance of holding off someone like Jochen Moss, who really by now, after an hour and well over an hour of racing, is really into the groove.
You get into a rhythm. You get that rhythm, and it feels good, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly does. It's one of the things, you know, it's a double-edged sword about changing drivers or not.
Let's go down now to Lyn St. James in the pit lane.
Jeff Brabham, wild and woolly out there. I know you had a spin.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, unfortunately, everything was going pretty good. I managed to survive the beginning of the race. So I tell you, people were banging into each other everywhere. It's amazing. But we managed to get through that. Unfortunately, I think the Jaguar was just dumping a lot of oil out on the racetrack, and it just put a whole lot down right in front of me, and I just lost it on the brakes. So it was really disappointing. But the car's running good, and I think this is a race. Anything can happen.
Well, it might be a good call. Anything can happen. Currently in the 5th place spot is the car that Brabham was driving, the Nissan. In fact, right now on their tail is the leader trying to put another lap on them.
That'll put him 2 laps up, and this is a case in point of what I was just saying. EFR has taken the car over, and although he's very familiar with that car, he's not yet really into the groove and on a roll like Jochen Mass is, so he's going to have a job to hold Jochen Mass off at this stage, and of course, he doesn't hold him off.
I was just going to say, I think he decided there we'll live to fight another day.
Yes, because it's one of the things is whether you have 2 drivers or 1. In a short-ish race like this, sometimes the 1 driver can put it off, but a lot of the teams thought that 2 drivers would be better here because this is a very physical track and will be demanding on the drivers. But as I've said, Jochen Mass is a very physical guy, and so in his case, maybe he's a bit above the normal.
On the front straightaway, coming down to turn number 1 is your leader, Jochen Mass, in the waste management car. And smooth is the way you'd have to describe him at the moment. Certainly using every inch of the racetrack, and there's some oily inches out there.
Yeah, you see those oily inches there right next to the wall as they come into that turn 3 complex. Now setting off down through the fast sweeps. He still uses more road. There we see number 67. That's Bob Wallach driving that car. That car has got the Goodrich tires, and I don't think they've stopped yet.
No, that's how come they are up to 3rd place. It has not been that competitive of a car, but at the moment he's shown in 3rd, but they have not made their stop yet, and 1 stop is required.
It's one car that a lot of people thought would be extremely competitive here because in the street races prior to this, that car has proven itself to be incredibly quick. And viewers who watch ESPN regularly will probably remember seeing it disappear in another California race at Sears Point back in July with the most horrendous crash. And Bob Wallach broke a couple of ribs and was in a pretty bad state there for a little bit. But he's come back, and the car's never quite performed quite the same since.
Bob Wallach, not in that particular car, but he's been a winner before on the IMSA circuit, including the Ford Probe. He's had some driving time. Now, it's interesting to note, we've got the times up now from the different pit stops. The quick one was by the Porsche Lowenbrau crew at 26.7 seconds, and that may translate later into a very viable seconds that they'll need as we come to the end of this 2 hours. Quick stop by the Lowenbrau crew. You know, there's one other time this weekend that the Lowenbrau crew was required to make a quick stop. The Kodak Copiers Pit Crew competition, which was held earlier this weekend. And it was between 2 of the teams that have been battling out on this racetrack, the Lowenbrau crew and the Jaguar crew, when it came down to the finals of this Kodak Pit Crew competition. And let's go back now and look at it. There is the number 14 car, the Holbert Racing car. Here they come over the wall. The clock is running up in your upper left-hand corner. By the way, this is for $10,000 for the pit crew that does it quicker. In the background, the number 44 Jaguar came all the way from the East Coast primarily for this part of the event. $10,000 for the crew who can change all 4 corners, clean the windshield, and simulate refueling. The Jag is already on the ground with a 17.786. The Lowenbrau car comes down second at 24.912. So the $10,000 in Kodak copier money goes to the crew from Group 44, the Jaguar team. Boy, that's some beer money that's worth spending.
Yeah, they should be able to lap that up.
Probably the biggest victory Jaguar will have this weekend. We'll be back with more from Del Mar right after this.
Good morning and welcome to Sports Break. I'm Paul Romanek. A busy Sunday in sports. Let's get to the NHL and the 4 games played. In Philadelphia, the basement-dwelling Flyers playing host to the surprising New Jersey Devils. Devils broke out to a 3-1 lead, but the Flyers tied it before the first period ended on a shot by Ilka Sinisalo. No more scoring in regulation or overtime due to some good goaltending, like this by Philadelphia's Ron Hextall. New Jersey moving into first place in the Patrick, while the Flyers are tied with the Rangers for last. Let's move on to Calgary. Flames home to Buffalo. Sabres getting good saves from goalie Darren Pupa in this game. Buffalo erupting for 4 goals in the second period, including Phil Housley's 10th. This puts the Sabres up by a score of 5-1. Pupo with 41 saves as Buffalo moves into a tie for second in the Adams with Quebec. On to Chicago, where the Blackhawks' first 3 goals came on the power play. Nice passing as Wayne Presley makes it 3-2. 13 goals in this game. Chicago's Denis Savard getting his 9th career hat trick and also showing off hockey's version of the slam dunk. Blackhawks hang on to beat the North Stars 8-5. Savard with 6 points, only 2 behind Gretzky now. Elsewhere in and around the National Hockey League, Daniel Berthiaume stopped 29 shots as the Jets defeated the Canucks 3-1. Winnipeg goals from McBain, Smale, and Boschman. Stan Smale got Vancouver's only goal. In CFL action, Winnipeg led Toronto 18-17, but Lance Chomick connecting on this 55-yard field goal as time runs out. Argos beat the Blue Bombers 20-18. Toronto running up 312 yards in offense compared to just 178 for Winnipeg. In Vancouver, the Lions intercepted Saskatchewan quarterback Kent Austin 5 times as the Lions win their 4th straight since Larry Donovan takes over as head coach. BC kicker Louis Pasaglia kicking 2 field goals to set a CFL record of 52. Comebacks, the story in NFL action. San Diego trailing the Colts by 13 at the half, but this field goal by Vince Abbott with 12 seconds left gave the Chargers a 16-13 win over Indianapolis. LA Raiders running back Bo Jackson drawing all kinds of attention in Minnesota, but it was the Vikings that converted turnovers by Bo into points. Minnesota 31, Los Angeles 20. The Buffalo Bills continuing to surprise the opposition. Bills with a little razzle-dazzle against the Denver Broncos. Buffalo moving to 4-4 with a 7-point win at the expense of Denver. Only 2 teams in the NFC have 7-1 marks, San Francisco and Chicago, but the Bears needed a 52-yard field goal from Kevin Butler on the final play to down Green Bay 26-24. Philadelphia, Randall Cunningham's 3rd touchdown pass of the game to Greg Garrity with under a minute to go, lifting the Eagles to a 31-27 win over Washington. Only 1 game in the NBA played last night. The Rockets and the Lakers. Houston with the pretty plays. Ralph Sampson finishing off with the alley-oop. But this is the Lakers that go on to win their 2nd straight. Magic Johnson with 23 for Los Angeles. Meanwhile, at the Paris Open in France, Tim Mayotte defeating Brad Gilbert in only the 6th All-American final this year on the Grand Prix circuit. Mayotte took 5 sets to collect the $140,000 top prize. In other tennis news, Stefan Edberg won the Stockholm Open for the 2nd straight year, defeating countryman Jonas B. Svensson in Sunday's final. And Pam Shriver upset Chris Everett in the 3 sets to win the Virginia Slims tournament in Massachusetts. Now for our play of the day, we return to the Chicago Stadium to watch Denis Savard of the Blackhawks, and he is a pleasure to watch indeed, although perhaps netminder Don Beaupre didn't think so. We'll get another look at it in slow-mo, and it looks just as impressive. Japan's Ayako Akamoto became the first non-American to lead the LPGA Tour in money winnings, Akamoto finishing 2nd in the last event yesterday to finish ahead of Bexy King. That is Sports Break. Thanks for watching.
We're back at the Mar Fairgrounds once again. Bruce Flanders, along with David Hobbs and Lyn St. James, covering the action for you in the first Camel Grand Prix of Del Mar. And we're looking at, right now, the 4th place car overall. At one time, he led the event. Mr. Bobby Rahal in the Budweiser car climbing back up the ladder.
Yeah, driving very well again. Pretty conservatively turn 7 there compared to Jochen Mass. Jochen Mass puts his left wheels over that red-white checkered curve every lap. Bobby Rahal giving it a fairly wide berth. In front of a couple of Camel Light cars there. Of course, Bobby was leading this race very easily. Had a bit of contretemps with a Camel Light and has paid the penalty and is now back in 4th.
You know, every square inch of this racetrack was brand new for this event. In fact, they had to dig up a lot of old asphalt and repave everything brand new. And it looked like Bryce Cobb getting back by there and unlapping himself.
Bryce Cobb getting around Chip Robinson. Chip Robinson in that #1 car, lying 2nd at the moment, but just being passed by Bryce Cobb.
You know, earlier, Lyn St. James had a chance to visit with Chip Robinson, who is the champion in this GTP division. And he's kind of an interesting guy, so we're going to go to that interview right about now.
1987 Camel GT champion. How do you feel about it?
Great. I'm really happy about it. You know, the pressure was really mounting towards the end of the season there, and Price was putting on a good charge, and it was a real relief at Columbus to get it out of the way and be able to come here and race for the 85,000.
And sit on the pole.
Yeah, well, we're real happy about that, obviously.
Tell the drivers out there something that you can give them, a piece of advice about how to really be successful in racing.
Well, I've organized my life around racing. I mean, there was nothing else, and And even way back when I was young and I started working as a crew member, I did that because I wanted to drive. And you know, I didn't go to college. I started working as a mechanic, and then, you know, I went to driving school, and I set up a small business to fund my driving school and to pay for the race series. And everything was directed towards racing. It was a single focus, and there was nothing got in its way. And you know, I really think that was probably the biggest thing that allowed me, you know, that allowed me to be where I am.
What is happening for 1988 in Chip Robinson's career?
Well, it's still a little bit up in the air, but I'm sure I'll be back with Holbert Racing, and I hope to do the Indy 500. And I don't know how many other IndyCar races I'll have an opportunity to do, but I think really the 500 is the one I'm particularly interested in. And I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see what else comes along.
Chip Robinson back in the race again, but this time he's in the #1 car, which you are watching closely, the one Derek Bell drove for the first half of the race. By the way, we've gotten a report that there may be something wrong with Chip Robinson's wrist from the first incident. He had it packed in ice to try and keep swelling down.
Well, it looks all right there as he gets around Price Cobb's car yet again, and there's Bob Wallach at last coming into the pits for his pit stop. Somehow he managed to keep going a lot longer than the others.
Last one in the top 10 to make the one required pit stop is the Frenchman Bob Wallach, and here he comes with some brand new rubber all the way around, and we'll see if Wallach can get back underway quickly or not.
Yep. Bob's done a pretty good job there. He's come up fairly well down on the grid. He's had a very consistent day as usual, Bob Wallach being one of the more consistent drivers in Camel GT, or for that matter World Sports Car Racing.
Well, they're taking their time. The Jim Busby-owned car coming actually a quite slow pit stop, while we go right back to the leader, Jochen Mass, the guy who's based out of Monte Carlo, and he has been storming through the day.
Yeah, he's had a good steady ride. I see he's turned his lights on now. This is to act really as a warning to cars he's lapping, like that Camel light that he just went by. It's easier to pick those headlights up in the mirrors than it is just to pick the car up, especially in the shady parts. Obviously, where the sun's shining in everybody's face, it must be very difficult for the Camel Light drivers when they're trying to see a car coming up behind them when they're looking into their mirrors into the sun.
So if you see one coming up with the headlights on, courtesy says you're supposed to move over?
Well, common sense says you're supposed to move over. I think otherwise you'll have to get punted over that wall.
Well, he's coming up on one of the Camel Lights once again. We'll see if that door opens for him, makes it a little easier for Jochen Mass to get by. At this point in the race, Jochen Mass and Chip Robinson are the only two cars on the lead lap. We'll be back for more from Del Mar.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Time Life Music presents the greatest collection of Christmas songs ever assembled.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Now, for the first time, Time Life Music brings you all these great stars together in one Christmas collection. 50 timeless classics on 3 records, 2 long-play cassettes, and now on 2 compact discs. To order, call the number on your screen. Only Time Life brings you Bing Crosby's White Christmas, the most popular recording of all time. The treasury of Christmas, the perfect way to celebrate the joy of this holiday season. 50 songs, 3 records, 2 long-play cassettes, just $24.95. And now, for the first time on 2 compact discs, just $29.95. Write or call now.
Once again, we're back in Del Mar, California, looking at number 6, Charles Morgan, who is the Camel Lights leader. In fact, there is this race within a race that we haven't talked an awful lot about, and Charles Morgan has been doing a heck of a job in that Minolta car.
Yes, he certainly has. The Camel Lights, of course, are very interesting. They're a little bit cheaper than the GTP cars. They are, in fact, as their name implies, they're lighter, they have a bit less power, and they are less expensive, there's no doubt about it. More people want to get involved in them. They're obviously, to my mind at least, not quite as exciting as the great big GTP cars. They don't have the horsepower. But it's a good way of getting started, and of course it could be a place for someone like Tom Kendall to go into.
Now, in this race within a race that we have alluded to a couple of different times, watch for the number 63 car. That's Downing and Mafucci. And Jim Downing has the opportunity at this racetrack to tie up the whole individual championships. Number 73, though, is running second overall, I think.
It's lying second on the road, and the front car, second car in that group is in fact car number 63, because we've got a typical mess here of 2 GTPs and 2 Camel Light cars all getting together. There we see the Torno car going way over to the left, our left, going round the Mafucci Downing car, which could win the championship today if all goes well.
Now, Jim Downing, we had a chance to visit with him earlier as Lyn St. James was everywhere, and Downing has a chance to tie it up right now.
I'm with Jim Downing, who I believe is now the Lights champion because you've gone the distance to complete to get the points.
Yeah, we've gone 70%, and I think we're in third position. All we had to be was ninth, and I think the Bell and Meade are not in first where they had to be, so we're good so far.
Some 115 races of IMSA competition that Jim Downing has run in, and he is looking forward to that championship banquet just a few days from now. The number 63 car, that's the one we're talking about. It's interesting as you get a look at the other side of the car now, the right-hand side. The muffler starts at the back where the engine is and actually dumps the exhaust clear up by the right front wheel.
Well, this is one of the cars that's had a lot of trouble with the decibel problem, and of course they've had to put on quite a large silencing system. You can see the silencer there to try and quieten this car down because the Mazda rotary engine is noisy in its racing form, and they've had to play around with that car to try and make it legal. There's the number 73 car with a Chevrolet engine, which is lying second in this race today. And here we are back to the leading Jochen Mass in car number 85.
Jochen Mass, that waste management car. We've been watching him now. He has been just in control of this event effectively for about the last 40 minutes. And definitely just putting it right on the sweet spots and keeping it off of those big concrete blocks.
Well, of course, the problem with leading a race, relatively easy, as he's doing at the moment. He's got Chip Robinson sort of breathing down his neck, but he has quite a large cushion, 25-odd seconds back to Chip. The problem with leading a race like that is that it tends to lead you to be sloppy and a bit careless. And, of course, there's no way you can relax in a racing car, especially on a racetrack like this.
Now, the second-place car to him and still on the lead lap is the number 1, Chip Robinson. But he's several seconds back behind him. In fact, closer on to a half a lap. And Robinson's going to have to mount an enormous charge to close up to Jochen Mass.
Well, of course, the theory there was that Robinson would be fresher than Derek Bell and would be able to maybe make up that gap. But at the moment, Jochen Mass is driving so well. He is a very fit guy. There we see Robinson sweeping through the corner, followed by Price Cobb, who's given him a hard run for the championship all this year, but has not been able to pull it off.
Watching the, ooh, look at that. Just as we talk about the second-place car, Chip Robinson stuffs it into one of those concrete blocks, and the block doesn't move.
Well, I don't know what happened there. It was hard to tell on that initial shot. He just seemed to just drive straight off. It looks like he missed the apex, but of course he must have had a reason for missing the apex in the first place. Maybe he ran into some oil or something else, although all the other cars seem to negotiate that corner all right. But whatever it is, old Chip is out for the second time today. Not a good day for the Chipper.
And it was interesting to note, one of the corner workers was requesting a tow truck, but at the same time, he's trying to fire the car up and back it out of there. So we'll have to wait and see if they have to tow him or what. Meanwhile, back on the current second-place car, the Budweiser car of Bobby Rahal, and Rahal makes his way back up to second.
Well, I tell you what, the luck that Bobby Rahal has had this year, allied with his great skill and determination, I must add, he has been a bit lucky though this year. I wouldn't be surprised to still see him win this race.
We're on the leader. He's the one going out of your screen right at the bottom. And look who's on the back of Rahal, the Nissan, running hard once again.
Well, that's Elliot Forbes Robinson at the wheel now. The car went very, very well in the hands of Jeff Brabham in the early parts of this race, although it had a few little moments, one big moment down the escape road. And he seems to be going particularly well again right now, although he is still another lap behind this man, Bobby Rahal.
Bobby Rahal, an impressive part of this race. Both of these cars at one time led the event. For those of you just tuning in, we're well beyond the halfway point. Every one of the key cars has made their pit stops, and now we're going all the way to the checkered flag. But we're going to be seeing that checkered flag in a while, and there's Chip Robinson. Obviously, we're going to need a tow truck for Chip Robinson, although the only yellow flags are out right there at that corner, and the corner worker standing by with him.
Well, Chip Robinson sitting in that car pretty disconsolate, I should think, by now, because that's, as I said before, his second crash of the day. And there's the man who hasn't hit anything yet, Jochen Mass from Germany in the number 85 car.
There's your leaderboard. Moss, Rahal, Lowari as the top 3 spots after 77. We're coming back.
TSN heats up your November. Every Sunday, see pro football's finest in exclusive live NFL clashes, and top U.S. college teams are featured every Saturday. Television's best NHL lineup battles Mondays and Thursdays, featuring the high-flying Montreal Canadiens. November means an exciting finale on the NASCAR circuit, plus a new season of NBA basketball tips off with terrific action Tuesdays and Fridays. And live coverage of the World Cup of Golf is all in November on TSN.
Once again in Del Mar, California for the first ever Camel Grand Prix of Del Mar. and you're looking at a beautiful overhead shot from the Goodyear blimp Columbia, which is based in Carson, California. You know, the Goodyear blimp travels over 100,000 miles every year and gets us some great shots at sporting events. Now we're on top of the leader. No, that's second place, excuse me, Bobby Rahal. Rahal in the second place spot. He led the event at one point, but doesn't now.
He's starting to use that corner there at turn 7 a little bit more. He can maybe scent blood here. He knows he's up to second, and with, as I say, with the racing luck he's had this year, he's probably hoping that old Jochen Mass will fall by the wayside, but I doubt it. Old Jochen's a pretty canny driver. There we see Jochen Mass in the lead car. Both of these cars, of course, owned by Bruce Levin, who's had a wonderful year this year in Camel GT racing.
Definitely has had a good year. The Bayside disposal car and his whole company. In fact, I understand he sold the company so that he could go racing full time. Oh, what fun that could be.
I don't think Bruce is made of stuff like that. He's definitely going to go racing, but I think he's also bought a couple of little airlines up there in Washington where he lives, and just spending some of the money he's made on selling this big disposal company he had.
Well, Bruce Levin has probably got to be the most tense man in the pit area right now with two of his cars, one of them out in front and the other one in the second place spot. That's not too shabby at the moment. Down in the pit area, I understand Lyn St. James is there, and she has got the crew chief for the Bayside team. And let's go down to Lyn St. James right now.
I'm with Walter Gerber, who is the crew chief of both Bayside cars running, I think, 1 and 2. Walter, Bobby made an early pit stop. Well, relatively early. He's running. Can he go the distance now?
Yeah, we can go the distance.
Okay.
So that was our plus side. We had a little get-together and we broke a valve stem off the rim, so we lost all the air. But lucky enough, it was in our window, so we can go all the way.
Jochen is running very well. I know he came in, it looked like his rear tires might have been going away. Did you make a change in the chassis setup on that change?
No, we didn't.
So you stayed with the same soft rears?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we sure do.
You've got both cars well prepared, running extremely well. You should feel very good.
Thank you. Well, we hope we can repeat Columbus.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, they hope they can repeat Columbus. Columbus, they needed an armed guard to take all the money back from that racetrack. They really had a good one going there.
Well, that, of course, is part of what I meant by Bruce Levin, the team of Bruce Levin having such a fantastic year. They, in fact, came first and second in reverse order to what they're running today at Columbus, which was just the last race.
Charles Morgan, that's your Camel Lights leader right now that we're focusing on, the Minolta Camera-sponsored car. And he has been smoothly staying out of a lot of major trouble anyway. He has rubbed paint with a couple of the other cars out there. It's an interesting assignment to drive a Camel Light car and look up in your mirror and see somebody else with about 40 miles an hour on you. Talk to the drivers about it.
Well, you're trying to go as fast as you can possibly go and keep an eye on your rearview mirror at the same time to stay out of trouble because you know, well, the heavier cars might be coming up on you going into the corner. This weekend, though, we've got a unique situation. I have a chance at the championship if I win and counting only scores 2 points for 1 point. So we have to go flat out. And, we won't look in the mirrors very much this weekend. It's a flat-out race for us.
A flat-out race for them. Don't look in your mirrors right now because behind them, the number 83 Nissan, and you talk about horsepower, they got a bunch.
Yeah, and he squeezed him up to the wall there, and he squeezed back too. He didn't give an inch there. So EFR having a bit of trouble getting around the Charles Morgan car there as they go through that twisty bit at the back.
And it's easy to say that you're going to be busy looking and get out of their way, but if you don't do it, it creates a lot of problems. We're back on the leader once again, Jochen Mass, and boy, he has been working so well through traffic. It's amazing the amount of trouble he has stayed out of. Maybe those headlights are a help.
Well, they probably are helping him a little bit, but he's obviously driving a very canny race now. He's got a bit of time in hand over again. Now he's got at least a lap over the next car, which is the 86 car, basically his teammate. So he can really afford to take his time when he's going through the traffic, although Jochen Mass is not known for taking his time going through traffic.
He has become more of a stable driver over the years, hasn't he? He's always been lightning quick.
Well, I don't know. He's a pretty tough driver, old Jochen. He really is a forceful driver, very aggressive, very forceful, and always has been. Of course, did a lot of Formula One, so he learned a lot in Formula One.
Well, Formula One will be a teaching ground, if nothing else, for you. And here's Mass once again through that sweeper. The car looks stable. Looks like he's got a lot of good tires underneath him yet. And again, as we've said, no more fuel stops left, or at least none are scheduled for anyone. As he makes the turn now, he'll be coming around the couple of tight bends and then out onto the fast front straightaway. A lot of racing yet to come from Del Mar, California, both in Camel Lights and in the GTP category. Updating you on who's running where, well, let's take a look at it right now. Moss in front, Rahal in second. In the lights, it's Morgan and Rothbart and Phillips and Katz. We're coming back to Del Mar.
Can your motor oil take the heat? When today's engines reach high running temperatures, motor oil can thin out, break down, and leave engine surfaces unprotected. But Castrol XLR has been engineered to maintain a lubricating film, even at extreme engine temperatures. At Castrol, we believe if you can't take the heat, get out of the engine. Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's cars. Look for Castrol XLR at these leading retailers.
Television's best auto racing is on TSN. Treat yourself to fast, exciting NASCAR duels. TSN brings you all the high-speed action of championship auto racing from around the world. Indy kart races fought on the hard asphalt. More USAC thrills, flat-out IMSA showdowns, and quarter-mile spectaculars. From the white flag to the checkered.
We're back in Del Mar, California, and that's number 85, Jochen Moss. He is motoring out in front of the GTP division and is clearly the leader at the moment. But you know, it's interesting. There was more to this whole weekend of racing than we're able to show you in just this 2-hour show. Earlier this morning, the GTU category ran their last race of the season, the one that will decide their championship. And here is a look back at the green flag from this morning's event. The GTUs, under 3 liters, and a lot of these cars, Mazdas and Pontiac Fieros, more like the kind you find on the showroom floor. Number 1, Tom Kendall, is in front right from the green flag. This young man wrapping up his 2nd championship in the GTU category, and there is nobody can knock him off of that platform today anyway, for sure. He is in a brand new car. The number 1 Mazda is a brand new one for them. In fact, the other car that is owned by the Kendall CCR Racing is being driven by his older brother, Bart Kendall, who occasionally takes a ride in this form of competition. Another one of the heavy competitors and the quickest qualifier was Terry Bisker out of Santa Ana, California, the number 55 Pontiac Fiero. Now, at speed, early in the morning, underneath the Goodyear Bridge, you're getting a good look at Tom Kendall, who opened up a very early lead over the rest of his competition. That's Bisker in the number 55 Pontiac Fiero in the 2nd place spot to him. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is a look back at what happened earlier this morning in the GTU final go of the season. Kendall, the number 1 Mazda, a new machine to him. Strange for the champion to switch mounts here at the last race of the year, but Kendall apparently wanting to shake down this number 1 Mazda. Now, he didn't lead the whole way, and behind him was a heck of a battle. Right back there behind him is Terry Bisker, and coming up on Terry Bisker is Dick Murray in that yellow Pontiac Fiero. Dick Murray out of Chandler, Arizona. According to my look at the charts, he has never won an IMSA race. But boy, he's given it heck this time. And that Pontiac Fiero of his working quite well. 15, Dick Murray from Chandler, Arizona, running in 2nd place at the moment we watch. There is what happened to Tom Kendall. A spin in turn 1, under braking, and gave the lead to Murray. Murray almost gave the lead to Terry Bisker, the number 55 car. And the Goodwrench car all over the back of Murray for several laps. Now out braking him, and 55 Bisker takes over the lead. Murray is in the 2nd place spot, and Kendall, recovering from the spin, is already back up into the 3rd place spot. Bisker coming down the straightaway at you. GTU. The U stands for under 3 liters. There is no real turbocharged cars per se that are competitive in this division. Bisker in front of it. Murray in the 2nd place spot as we move a little further along in their race. And Murray and Kendall started having a battle for the 2nd place position. The Pontiac would make its horsepower in different spots on the racetrack, but it began cutting out on him, strangely, misfiring. And again, Kendall gets back underneath him, takes over the 2nd place spot, nearly collected a wall, though, right there. Now, the question is, did he collect the wall or not? We'll take a look at the right-hand side of the car in just a moment, and you can judge for yourself. Kendall, though, moving back up and taking over the 2nd place spot, and his older brother, Bart, moving into 3rd, I do believe, with the car that has been racing on the IMSA circuit for years and years, the number 75 car. Now, this is the number 85 car. As a sidebar story, he finished 7th overall. It's driven by John Daly. Now, John Daly owns the construction company that built this whole racetrack. So Daly ought to know where the racetrack goes, certainly, or whether his guys did a good job in building it. John, nice drive for 7th place overall. As they got down near the end of it, Terry Visker in the number 55 was leading it. In the 2nd place spot, number 1, Tom Kendall, and 3rd place, number 75, Bart Kendall, the older brother. There's a good shot of Visker's Mr. Goodrich Pontiac Fiero. And coming on down, I do believe the checkered flag about ready to wave for Terry Visker. Visker wins the GTU race in a very nice way to end the season for him. 2nd place to the number 1 car, Tom Kendall, the UCLA economics major out of Del Mar, California, I understand. And the 3rd place spot, his older brother, number 75, Bart Kendall. And here at the finish line, the sibling rivalry less than 1 car length apart between the 2 Kendalls as they crossed for 2nd and for the 3rd place spot. We had a chance to visit with a very personable young man who ended up winning the championship. And let's go now to, well, crowd appreciation. They loved that GTU race earlier. Let's go to Kendall now.
My long-range goal is to hopefully someday get into Indy cars or maybe the NASCAR circuit. But as for the short range, I'd like to hopefully move up to GTO or GTP in the next year or so and try to repeat my success that I've had in GTU.
A look at the number 75, the highest mileage car in IMSA. And here's the results of GTU. Visker, Kendall, and then Oberlin in the 4th place spot. The final results of that 1 hour ago. Now back with the GTP action that's been going on. But there has been no change at the top. And in front of it all, there he is, Jochen Mass. And we're coming back to Del Mar.
Silver Eagle Records presents the international supergroup, ABBA. For nearly a decade, the #1 international recording group in the world. To order, call the number on your screen. Solid gold hits that top the music charts can now be yours on this double-length album or cassette. Hit after hit, the best of ABBA on double-length album or cassette, only $14.95. Available on compact disc, just $19.95. Write or call now.
Now to the closing stages of the 2-hour Camel Grand Prix of Del Mar. You're looking at number 3, Massimo Segala, who is sitting 2nd overall and still has a shot at that 85,000.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's way behind the leader, but he managed to get around Bobby Rahal, and of course you want to try and stave him off to the end because obviously 2nd place is worth winning here as well.
Well, 2nd place money isn't bad, but this is a very top-heavy purse, and 85,000 has got to be an influence on a lot of them. Segala has gotten around Rahal, but Rahal has had some kind of problems. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I've tried to take the headphones off and listen, but I can't tell, David.
No, I think he's got some sort of a transmission. It's either a transmission or a clutch problem. I'm not absolutely sure what it is.
Okay, well, we'll keep our eyes on him, see if he drops any further back. Right now, neither of them, in Segala you're looking at now, the 2nd place car, neither he nor Rahal have really got a chance against Jochen Mass unless something were to break on Mass.
And the way the leaders in this race have dropped by the wayside one after the other, there's obviously every chance yet, with even though it's not long to go, that something should befall Jochen Mass. Obviously, he's hoping it won't.
And if you don't drop by the wayside, somebody punts you into a concrete wall.
Somebody will drop you by the wayside. The 83 car, the Nissan's going very well here, managing to stay in front of these 2 guys battling for 2nd spot, but unfortunately for them, they're way out of the picture.
Now, the 2 Italians, as you mentioned earlier in the show, got no practice on Friday. They weren't here, or the car wasn't ready?
They weren't here. They didn't arrive for some reason or other.
Well, maybe it was Disneyland or something else they were cruising. Still, though, the Camel Light cars, and some of them now just motoring on to a finish, they've got to really be aware and get out of the way of the quick cars.
Yes, but of course even the quick cars, except these 2 here, have probably really eased up a bit, and people are going to settle for positions. Obviously Rahal wants to get round that Torno car again now.
Rahal is a money hunter, certainly has been at least this year and last year. 2 times in a row he's won the championship auto racing team's kart title, and that championship doesn't come lightly.
Well, he certainly has scared up some money the last couple of years. Had a very, very successful season in 1986 and a fantastic year in 87, including, as I say, he's already won 3 of these Camel GTP races. He's come 2nd on 2 other occasions. and he's only actually started 6 of them, so not really a bad record.
And for you Porsche fans, the Porsches occupy the first 4 or 5 slots on the leaderboard right now, and the Porsche 962, once again, the dominant one in an IMSA race.
Well, the Nissan we just saw putting a lap on the 44 Jaguar there, with John Morton driving it now, and these 2 Porsches are about to put that Jaguar yet another lap down. It's been in and out of the pits a lot just recently. It seems to be losing water and oil, and it has all sorts of mechanical ails, which is a bit of a shame on its last appearance in Camel GT racing.
The corner workers are alluding to the fact that the headlight on the right front of Ray Hall's car is dangling only by the wire. That's the only thing holding the headlight on, and they're worried. The IMSA officials say no problem with all the debris we've had.
There you can see it hanging out there, but I guess at this stage in the race it really wouldn't matter too much if that headlight was to fall off on the track, although obviously you don't want debris of any sort bouncing around the track.
And once again, there's a report that the Jaguar may be leaking a little bit, which at this stage we don't want to have because that track is probably greasy enough.
Well, the car has been in trouble for the last 3/4 of an hour or so. It's been in and out of the pits a lot, and he's really basically just cruising to a finish now, I think.
Okay, well, back on the second place spot there, and it is Segala who took over for Lorari, and that second place position looking quite strong for them at the moment in the Brunn Porsche.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the Brunn car is pulling away from the Budweiser car. Obviously, we don't know why, but the track is obviously getting slippery. I'm sure I saw the Jaguar still dropping fluid on that one of those last shots, and of course, at this stage of the race, the track is going to have oil, debris, rubber, and everything on it anyway, so we'll be getting a bit slick on the slick side.
And the bright sunshine getting long in the sky right now. The shadows in several spots across the track making it tough, and yet in other places the bright sunlight reflecting right off of your windscreen, and that's going to make it tough to see. Lyn St. James is in the pit area with a report.
Bruce, I'm down here in Bobby Rahall's pit, and I understand that it's been over 30 minutes now that Bobby has had to drive without a clutch. I happen to know that experience because at the 24 Hours of Daytona this year, I drove my Mustang for about 6 hours without a clutch. But at Daytona, we don't make near as many shifts as you do here. We've got over 20 shifts per lap, and Bobby's out there both upshifting and downshifting without a clutch. It's an expensive gearbox. It's going to be trash at the end of the race.
Well, Lyn's got a very good point. They do use the gearbox an awful lot around this track, and of course these cars have got a full synchromesh gearbox, which is much more difficult to use without a clutch than a straight cut gear on, say, the Nissan car.
So if you were to try jamming it through the gears, you're busy, right?
Very busy. They don't want to do it at all. They're hard to use without the clutch.
All right, the race is down to its final stages. We're in the closing moments, and at the moment right now, Jochen Mass is the one who's trying to count the money in the number 85 car, and it's that proverbial time when you start hearing things go wrong. High in the sky from the Goodyear blimp, you're taking an overhead shot of the Del Mar Fairgrounds. It's Moss in front, Segala in second. In Camel Lights, it's Morgan and Rothbard, Phillips and Katz.
Greb Kodiak, built to take abuse. Waterproof, comfortable, warm, and tough. There are cheaper lookalikes, but Greb Kodiak set the ground rules for quality footwear. That's why, after 75 years, Greb Originals are still the best-selling work boot in Canada. Greb Kodiak. You simply can't buy better.
This is where champions begin. Mike Tyson, Terrence Alley, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Superstars who slug their way to glory on Top Rank Boxing. From the opening round to the final count, the action never stops. Top Rank Boxing puts you in the ring where champions are made.
Closing moments of the Camel Grand Prix of Southern California. I'm Bruce Flanders, along with David Hobbs and Lyn St. James. And David, we have brought them one heck of a race.
We certainly have, and this has been one of the prime players in that race. The number 6 car of Charles Morgan and Jim Rothbard leading the Camel Light division. They've had an exemplary afternoon, had a really great race. They've had a few little moments. But this is Charles Morgan driving down. He really has driven very, very well this afternoon. The car almost as quick as some of the slower GTP cars. And on this little tight track, I suppose that's not to be too surprising, but they really have put on a tremendous display this afternoon here in the sunshine of Southern California.
The English chassis, a Spice is the brand name. And again, the engine, a Pontiac. I think effectively the one they call the Iron Duke. And this Pontiac has been hitting them on all 4 cylinders all day.
Well, it certainly has proven a very strong combination this year. And, of course, very, very strong here at Del Mar.
this car has been competitive with some of the slower of the GTP cars, and he's certainly been the hottest of the Camel Lights all day long.
There we see him going through turn 2, I suspect for about the last time as he comes into turn 3, into that bright, bright sunshine, which for the last half an hour must have been pretty worrying for these guys.
This is number 85, Jochen Mass, and we do believe he is on the last lap. Unlike a NASCAR race where a white flag comes out, in IMSA, you're not really sure until you see the checker.
If you see a white flag in IMSA, it means it's a slow car or a truck or something slow in front of you, not the last lap, no.
The turbocharged Porsche of Jochen Mass. Bruce Levin, the owner of the car, and it's on its way to the big payoff, the biggest payoff in sports car racing history in the United States.
It certainly is. He could be collecting in a few seconds from now about $85,000 as he comes into turn 7 for the last time.
And if he gets elected the Norelco Drivers' Cup Award, that's another $1,500 too. And the crowd is already cheering him on.
The crowd's cheering him on. You can see the flag marshals waving there. We see Jochen Mass not smiling as broadly in that picture as I'm sure he will be in just a very few seconds from now.
The last couple of turns and then out onto that front straightaway. And if the checkered flag is waving, this race isn't over. We're going to watch the headlights burning brightly on Jochen Mass. And in the left-hand corner, there it is, the checkered flag waving. And Jochen Mass, the winner of the first ever Camel Grand Prix of Southern California. And the winner of the Lights division, the Rothbarth and Morgan car, number 6.
Just about to take the checkered flag now. Bobby Rahal, who's going to come third in this race, just whips past the number 6 car on the run-up to the finish. And there's a 67 car of Bob Wallach, who very nearly took third place away from Bobby Rahal on that last lap.
Boy, he was hunting him. After that clutch went away, Wallach was definitely closing in. That's the number 63 car of Downing and Mafucci. And Downing will individually win the Camel Lights Championship for the year. But Mafucci is the one who's in the car right now. And I got a feeling inside of there, Mafucci is look at Mafucci waving.
Well, that's a very happy wave. Obviously, he's very happy, I'm sure, for his co-driver, Jim Downing, who has now won the Camel Lights division, and, of course, the money that goes with it. But there's the money man today. Jochen Mass, thumbs up there over the wheel. I'm not surprised he is putting his thumbs up, too. Thumbs up and palms out to old Bruce Levine.
And the corner workers, the hard-working volunteers who without this event wouldn't work, they're all waving and thumbs up. And that is the second-place Camel Light car, number 73, Phillips and Katz. Second place, nothing to sneeze at.
Just being overtaken by the Jaguar, that absolutely beautiful-sounding Jaguar. We're going to hear that sound again next year, but not in the Group 44 chassis. It'll be a whole new team.
Now, the winners come to a halt here on the front straightaway. They take the drivers out, and they'll take them, or most of them anyway, on a victory lap. All who want to go can receive the accolades from the crowd once again.
Jochen Mass being greeted by the Bruce Levin crew there. They've had a wonderful year, as I've said many times in this program. And, of course, Walter Gerber is the crew chief, who used to work on Jochen Mass's car when Walter lived back in Switzerland. So he's known Jochen Mass for a long time. They've been a very good pair for a long time. There's Jochen, accepting all the congratulations from Walter there and all the other guys in that crew.
Well, a lot of hugs and happy smiles going on as they all greet each other like they didn't know each other an hour ago.
Jochen disrobing there, taking off the gloves. All those clothes get pretty sticky and sweaty after a long 2-hour drive like that. And the crew are all getting on the car now. It looks like they're going to go for their own pace lap in the race car, leaving Jochen standing on the sidewalk, as it were.
Yeah, Jochen is somewhere around Victory Circle, but here is a happy bunch of mechanics, and I think the car owner on the driver's left-hand side at the back is Bruce Levin.
Yeah, picture right, the guy in the back there with glasses, that is Bruce Levin, the owner of the car, and obviously very, very happy. First and third today, and first and second in the last race at Columbus. So really, the Levin team have had a marvelous year.
What an outstanding response, too, from this crowd as these guys go around. Now, here comes a truckload of our different winners. That's Moss, I think, climbing into the back of the truck right at the end. Also, Phillips and Katz are in that vehicle, and a couple more.
The very big guy that with the glasses, that's Jim Rothbarth, and, of course, to his left is his co-driver, Charles Morgan.
They're not that happy looking, all of them. Maybe they're just tired?
I think they'll be pretty tired. The guys that did it solo, Jochen Mass must be pretty tired, however strong he is. I'm sure his hands are very stiff and sore. You know, when you're holding those heavy racing car wheels for 2 hours like that, steering them through narrow streets like this, your arms, your wrists, your forearms get very, very tired. A lot of gear shifts. He's probably made, what, 2,000 gear shifts this afternoon in the last 2 hours. A lot of force on his neck and his upper body from cornering and braking and accelerating. So, yeah, he's pretty tired.
I like the way you had to check which cap he had on. We are coming back for the champagne of Victory Circle right after this.
The very very best of Willie Nelson.
On the road again, my heroes have always been cowboys.
For the first time on television, you can get 24 of Willie Nelson's original classic hits on 2 records or 2 cassette tapes.
Riding on the city of New Orleans. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys.
Everything's beautiful in its own way.
You were always on my mind.
24 original classic songs from the one and only Willie Nelson can be yours today. Order now.
COD and credit card customers call 1-800-543-1009. That's 1-800-543-1009. Or to save COD charges, use your credit card or send check or money order for $4.95 for album or cassette plus $3 shipping and handling to Willie Nelson, P.O. Box 600, Station R, Toronto, Ontario, M4G4E1. COD and credit card customers call 1-800-543-1009.
On the agenda of the Camel Grand Prix of Del Mar, there is only one major thing left, and that's the celebration. So let's let the celebration begin. Down on the Victory Circle area, they are all beginning to gather about. The bottles of champagne and the trophies are all sitting around and waiting for them to come forward. But first, we have got an opportunity to visit with the winner of this event. And again, Lyn St. James has Jochen Moss at Victory Circle.
24 hours of Daytona, the 24 hours of Le Mans, the 2 hours of the Camel Grand Prix of the Southern California Del Mar. Any length, any distance, you can win them. How do you feel?
Well, I haven't won Le Mans yet. I was trying, but I didn't. Actually, I did only now and a bit. I feel fine. No problems. Yeah.
I know the race, there was a lot of instances out there. You know, how did you stay out of trouble?
Well, you needed a bit of luck, and I had it today, so I guess that was it. You know, it was timing sometimes. Sometimes you just couldn't help it, but it looked all right. I didn't have any particular... Once I had a little bit of a worry down at the end, into the kink, when I touched the car and I very nearly hit the wall, but I didn't, so that's okay.
But seriously, you know, you've done so well in endurance racing and then a really short sprint race. I mean, it shows that you are the consummate driver.
Well, you know, I'm reasonably fit and I like distances now, but I like sprint racing better, basically. But, you know, when you have to do a long distance, you do a long distance. But I prefer sprints.
You going to come back to California next year?
If you invite me.
Jochen, consider yourself invited. Now, on the victory stand area, the presentations that are about to be made are being made by Ray Sechin. He is the president of the 22nd Agricultural District, the people who are in charge of the Del Mar Fairgrounds. And do they look happy enough to you, David?
Well, they all look a bit tired at the moment. Jochen's not exactly beaming at the moment. Ray Hall's standing there looking a bit dull. And, of course, Oscar Leroy's standing there from Italy. Can't understand a word of what's going on anyway. But I'm sure they're all very, very happy at heart.
Now, the next of the presentations being made by Rob Powell from the R.J. Reynolds Company. This presentation is an $85,000 check.
I think the mechanics deserve it, right?
And the car owner beating him over the head with the check at the moment.
Yeah, Jochen's starting to look happy now. Bruce definitely looking happy. Obviously, one looks happy when Pam gives one a kiss. Pam being Miss Camel.
To Bobby Ray Hall.
We've still got a lot of people to interview yet before this is done. So, again, Lyn St. James is down there. I do believe she's got Jim Rothbarth and Charles Morgan, the winner of the Camel Lights division. Lyn.
I'm here with the Camel Light champions of this race. We've got Rothbarth here and Charles Morgan. I talked to you a little earlier. You guys have got to feel good about this finish. The last race of the season, you've had kind of an up and down season.
We've won 3 out of 4 now, Lyn, and we've had a great close to the season. We started good and ended very well, but we had an awful weak center of the season. So, but it was a great win. It's a great racetrack, and Jim gave me a lap lead. All I had to do was sit on it. He did a great job.
So you're going to be able to do this next year and have the whole season go well?
I don't know what we're going to do next year. It's we'll celebrate this one, I think, first.
Sounds good. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you.
The season champion in the Camel Lights division is Jim Downing. And let's go to him now.
Well, you are truly Camel GT champion. A lot of championships. I think you only missed 1 year since 1981, but still, you've done a marvelous job for the Camel Light division and now 3-time champion there.
Thanks, Lyn. Yeah, and it was a struggle this year. You know, 3 years ago, we won 8 races. Last year, 4 races. This year, we only won 1 race. The key to this business was finishing every time, and Mazda kind of gave that to me.
Well, congratulations, because you are truly a champion.
Thanks very much.
Now, this next part, David, I never understood. Why do they always shake it up and spray it on everybody instead of drinking the champagne?
Well, it's always a bit strange, isn't it? But I guess when you get up there, you get a bit carried away. It's so long since I've shaken the champagne, I've forgotten how to do it now. But it always looks very good, and it's good for the champagne companies. They like it as well, and of course the drivers enjoy it, and all the photographers rush up there to get sprayed. They love getting sprayed as well. The video cameramen move well back because of this expensive equipment.
It seems like a fitting and happy ending to a season and a great way to toast a brand new racetrack.
What a brand new racetrack, and these guys deserve to look happy with themselves because they have survived today. It was a very difficult little track to learn, and of course these guys are here getting the plaudits, and some of the other top drivers today are stuck in the wall, quite frankly, so these guys have put on a good show and they should look very pleased with themselves.
We'll return one more time to the IMSA Grand Prix here at Del Mar.
I haven't seen a lineup like this in years. Different reason. How's it going? Busy. And this is it, the new NGK V-Power spark plug, the first really new spark plug design in decades. The V design means quicker starts, improved engine performance, and increased fuel economy. I recommend V-Power plugs with no hesitation for any North American car, truck, or van. My wife's going to have to wait until I finish my customers' cars.
V-Power, more power to you.
Whether you were a competitor in the event, a spectator at the event live, or whether you just watched us on ESPN, it seems to us that the inaugural Camel Grand Prix of Southern California was a success every way you want to measure it.
Well, all the drivers I spoke to seemed to very much like this course. One big thing it had going for it was that it was smooth because the whole course was new, and a lot of these city street courses are very bumpy. But I think everybody enjoyed themselves. I think most of them are going to come back next year. And I think that for a first time round, it was extremely successful, and the crowd were very big and also incredibly enthusiastic.
For David Hobbs and Lyn St. James, my name is Bruce Flanders, and we hope you enjoyed this broadcast. Here's a final look at the way they came down. There's your top five with Jochen Moss, the winner, Price Cobb rounding out the top five. In the second group, sixth place was the Brabham EFR Nissan, then the first of your Camel Lights, Rothbarth and Morgan winning that. The rest of the 15 that we'll show you were all Camel Lights in this last grouping. From Del Mar, California, so long and thanks for watching.